Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, to MBR, or as we like to call it around here, Nothing But Rants, the show where I find topics that I'm oddly passionate about and I pontificate upon them. These are not hot takes, but rather takes that I'm hot about. What's up? You really like that? Let's shut up and grab some tape. What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome into the Film Guy Network on a terrific Tuesday evening. It is always a loaded show here on the program, and we got one for you today. Look, I had this real long open because sometimes, even though I do the reading, because y'all don't, sometimes I don't be reading. Sometimes I just see a quote on Twitter and I'm like, damn, they're back at it. They're back at that again. Prime example. I saw some quote today on social media about Florida State players still talking about 2023 and getting snubbed and all this good stuff. And I'm just like thinking here, like, God dang, man. Like, you ever let somebody know you're self-conscious about something and then that person only uses that to piss you off the rest of the time of the relationship? The 2023 playoff snub is them calling me fat. I'm telling you that right now. Like, you want to get to me? Say something like that. You want to get to a Florida State fan or player, just say something about 2023. And that's the way I kind of felt. And I had this long opening about how don't be giving, shit for people to talk about you about, right? Don't just give it to them. Don't just allow them to make fun of you. Florida State fans and Florida State players continue to allow people to make fun of them about this one snub instead of just letting it go. And then half the time when they talk about it, they do let it go. Like Norvell stood up and talked about how 2023 is behind us. We're only moving towards 2024. And then right after that talks about how Georgia earned their loss and earned the right to not be in the playoff, but we didn't last year. And it's like the two are not really making sense. So in part of my mind, I want to open up and I want to rip Florida State for still being caught up about this stuff and still very UCF 2017-y about this kind of stuff. And on the other hand, they're trying to let this go, but they're not. All right, so the open still is the open, and the open is this. Florida State, let the shit go. Let the shit go, because here's why. Here's why, Mike Norvell. Every time you talk about this, Norvell, it serves you zero purpose. Maybe a little bit more, but very little, and here's why. You got 40 new football players on your team. 40. Let's say you got 120 on the damn roster. Let's just make it easy for everybody. Let's say you got 100 meaningful football players on this roster that are going to impact your season this year. Guess what? 40 of them suckers are brand damn new. So whatever message you're using, whatever motivational tactics are behind, we got snubbed last year. It only works for like 60% of your roster. The other 40% of your roster is sitting over there going, damn, man, that did suck for y'all last year. Hey, what's up with this year's game plan? Do we got anything? I'm very, very up and down about this, boys. I don't know whether to just rip them or whether to just give them credit for partially getting over this, or should that be it? They're partially over it. They need to get fully over it and just rip them anyways. What should I do here?
I don't know. I want to give them credit too, and I want to say that they kind of gotten over it and they put it behind them. But then I also see things like Trey Benson posting a picture of him dubbing up Georgia on the brand new NCAA game, like saying like, got my revenge back. Well, one, you opted out of the game, so you chose not to play in that one. And two, like, why, if it doesn't matter to you guys that much, why are you the one continuing to bring it up? So then I see things like that, and I don't hold any sympathy for him.
I think Florida State wants to be over it. I think they want to move on from it and focus on the 2024 season and winning a national title and all that. I don't think emotionally they have done so yet. So when people bring it up or when it's mentioned, they go down this hill of, we were snubbed, yada, yada, yada. I don't think they're openly every day waking up thinking, this is not right. We were snubbed. But when you do bring it up, it still strikes a chord with them. And it probably will for a lot of people for the rest. It will for the fan base for the rest of time.
And as a football program, it could be this simple. Every time you're asked about it, and you'll only be asked about it once, Every time he asks about it, no comment. We're not talking about that. We're on to 2024. Guess what? The rest of the media pool will never say another word about that.
Yep.
It's over with. It's a done point. But the allowance of a quote to get off in these circumstances will create the circumstance for the media guy to ask the question. Because if you're going to do the quote and I'm going to get the clicks off you being a little petty and you still being upset about something that happened 9 months ago, despite the fact that we are about to start a football season, okay, then I'm going to ask the question as long as you're going to provide the quote until you stop providing the quote. So I'm going to go with that right there. Stop providing the quote and everything will be all right. And then we'll stop asking the question, because I'm with you to an extent of, well, maybe they're not thinking about it, but they get asked about it, so they have to talk about it. I'm with that to an extent. However, all it takes is one. No comment. We're on to 2024. All that's in the past. Don't really care to talk about it. End of it.
Sure. Absolutely. I mean, you could very easily, like you said, shut it down and no one will ask you about it again. But it like I said, it's still obviously striking a chord with him when it's mentioned. So
I know we are very exposed to the Georgia football program in terms of like the day-to-day operations. We get to deal with these football players and deal with these coaches and all of a sudden on a very personal basis. We do not have that afforded to us elsewhere. However, have you ever noticed how media trained every player is from the University of Georgia?
Extremely.
Bama players were this. Bama players still seem to be this. You don't see them providing quotes unless it's Tyler Booker being funny, right? Ohio State players are very quiet. I never hear, almost all of them seem introverted. We never hear from them. Michigan players last year, the whole world was crumbling. The only guy that really was asked to ever speak was J.J. McCarthy, and they forced him to do that. Like, most of these really good programs don't have like players popping off at the lip, or not necessarily popping off at the lip, just not properly trained to give a PC answer when the need is a PC answer.
Yeah, I mean, the only time I can think of over the years under Kirby Smart where a player has kind of got a little bit and became a headliner because of something he said was when Tate was on his podcast and it got completely taken out of context.
Multiple times.
Of him saying that Neyland Stadium was better than Stanford, which is not what he said. It just got confined into one small quote.
Don't forget about Jordan Hall taking a shot at Florida as well.
Yes.
They don't put nobody in the league.
So that's like the only time where it's like you're not in the proper setting or your typical setting where you're put under this roof and you're put in this shell. When you get on some other podcasts,
I don't know if y'all noticed, but the frequency of their podcast release got a little altered as soon as that news started happening too. Interesting. You know what I mean? So yeah, I don't know where to go with this except for, can I stop talking about it? Because you damn sure should. Again, 40% of your roster brand spanking new. 40% of your roster has no sympathy and no personal recollection or connection to the story that you're preaching to your entire roster, or at least allowing to still go around in your locker room. So that alone is enough to move it forward. Welcome to tonight's show. We do indeed have a loaded one for you. That boy Paul Finebaum just keeps on firing, folks. By the end of the year, ain't gonna be a damn coach left. All right, it's gonna be Nick, it's gonna be Kirby Smart and Paul Finebaum hanging out. That's about it. Everybody else gonna be cooked. But he fired another one today, and it wasn't your typical hot seat guy. This was a guy, he just was out here willy-nilly. You lose, you gone. So we're gonna talk about that guy today. Apparently that was a hot take today from Paul. The hottest take on the show sheet today is apparently that SMU might be a player in college football moving forward. News to me, figure it's news to you. We're going to talk about it tonight and explain as to why they might be a player moving forward. 3 absolute have-to-have-them, must-haves to win a college football national championship, college football playoff this fall. We'll be bringing you that. Our boy JWIll has a litany of just serving it up. This is my segment. These are my opinions. We're going here today during the show. He's got like 3 or 4 of those today. Super excited for the first one, which is titled promptly Making the Case. I believe he's going to stand in front of us and give us a reason why somebody is a national title contender. So that ought to be fun. And I want to start the actual show after we talk about Prize Picks with a general question. Anyone concerned about what's going on up there at Ohio State right now? Because I would be, and I am. We're going to talk about that tonight. First and foremost, I want to give a quick shout out to our friends over at Prize Picks. If you have not already, head over to prizepicks.com. Get a 100% deposit match over there. What does that mean? You put up to $100. You will instantly get matched with $100 right there in your account today using only promo code Brooks. It is Taco Tuesday. I know it's 8 o'clock here on the East Coast. However, still a lot of action to be had over there on Prize Picks. Head over there today. Make sure you're joining us. And make sure as we come to a close of Up to Something season, make sure you are taking heedance to supporting those who support us. All right, just make sure, because it is contract season for the boys. Welcome in. Make sure you hit that thumbs up button, like, subscribe, rate, review. And I want to get right into this because there is cause for concern out there in Columbus, Ohio, in my opinion. And here's why. Ryan Day did the thing again today. Guys, we're a month from the start of the college football season. And Ryan Day did the thing today where he stood in front of the media and he told the media, we got 5 great quarterbacks and I don't know who mine is. Maybe we find out in the first 2 weeks of fall camp. Maybe you find out in the first 2 weeks of fall camp. Brother, you had a month. You had a month there in the spring and an entire summer to identify who the leader of your football program is. Now, I know you're a really, really old program. You got a bunch of guys that turned down NFL football and NFL money and NFL draft selections to come back to Columbus for a chance at a national title. I am very well aware of the age and maturity of that roster. However, they don't know their quarterback, or at least publicly, they have not stated that they know their quarterback. And there's this old adage, right? If you've got 2, then you got none, right? If you have 2 quarterbacks, then you don't have one. Well, they don't even have the ability to publicly identify one right now. And that to me would be a little bit of a scare. And I know how good the offense is, but guess what? The offense was extremely good outside of quarterback play last year as well. And it cost them a chance at a national title, and it cost them a chance at a Big Ten championship, all because they couldn't get past Michigan. Now, they don't have to exactly only get past Michigan this year, but there is going to be a point in the season where Ohio State's season is on the line, and they're going to need a dynamic and a known dude at the quarterback position to go win them a football game, or else go home and the entire season has been washed away. And if we don't know in August, if we don't know in late July who our guy is, then I am of the belief that you don't have a guy, right? Unless you're pulling a Kirby Smart. Because as my executive producer right here, there's 2 executive producers. So does that make you both just producers or both executive producers?
We're both executive producers.
My EP over here pointed out to me today, hey, Brooksy, don't go too hard on this tape because Kirby Smart did the same exact bullcrap last year. And I'm with you. Except anybody who was anybody in the Georgia space last year, ourselves included, told you, damn, in January, this was Carson Beck's job. They're like, come on. They dumped the Gatorade on Kirby and he turned right around and shook Carson's hand and said, you're up next. It was right there on national television for everybody to see. It was so obvious and clear that Carson was the guy. Love Brock Vandagriff to death. It was clear as day. Carson Beck was the guy. You know what ain't clear as day right now is that Will Howard is the guy and that Devin Brown is not. Or that Julian Sand might not have an outside chance in hell of getting into this mix as a true freshman. There is no clear-cut, obvious one right now coming out of the building up there in Columbus. And that, to me, as a national title contender in which you're going to have to play at least 3 playoff games, and in order to not have to play 4, you're basically going to have to run the table in the Big Ten without knowing you have a quarterback. That, to me, guys, very, very whoa. You know what I mean? Very, very whoa. Watch out, okay? Don't be out here hammering Ohio State to win a natty because quarterback play could very much so cost them that.
And unless it truly is this way, which I find a little hard to believe, this is such an easy layup for you to hit if you're Ohio State because – I mean, every single one of your actions this offseason speaks and tells who your starting quarterback is going to be this year because Kyle McCord transfers out after starting all season, meaning that you would like to move on from his abilities as a quarterback. He goes to Syracuse. You have Devin Brown, who played a little bit last year, but that's not good enough. So we want Will Howard to come in to our university. And at that point, that's settled. You have made your stance very clear about your belief in your quarterback room for both guys who played last year. And by bringing in someone else who has tons of experience for themselves, that's your starter. So just say it. Be honest about it and stand 10 toes down on it.
And by the way, the portal window is closed. So Devin Brown's on your roster till December. You ain't going to hurt nobody's feelings right now. All you're going to do is provide some type of sense of confidence around your program at the quarterback position.
I look at this situation as kind of hey, this is interesting. You probably want to pay more attention to it. I don't think it's an area for concern until you get to week 1 or 2 and they're alternating starters, like Bama was doing in the USF game last year.
Yeah.
When we realized Bama had a true issue at quarterback when they were going through guys in those first 3 weeks. I mean, they went from Jalen Milroe to Tyler Buckner to Simpson. I mean, there was a lot of turmoil in those early weeks. Now they obviously got it fixed and made the playoff, but early in the season, we're like, Bama doesn't have a quarterback. I don't think until you start seeing that with Ohio State, you should be concerned. I think it's something to pay attention to, though.
Ohio State will be run heavy. We don't need elite quarterback play this season, says Drowsy Dragon in the chat. Have you not watched college football like the last 3 or 4 years? Yeah, Michigan won a title and not throwing the football heavily, but that's it. And Michigan had 9 redshirt senior 35-year-old offensive linemen on the roster, and that's how they did that. And they had a great running back, and they had 2 great tight ends that could block, right? And they had a great offensive coordinator who might be the best run game designer in all of college football, and Sharon Moore. They did that. But also, Bama had a loss on their schedule last year because of quarterback play in that Texas game, multiple turnovers and stagnant offense. Okay, this happens around college football. The quarterback and the lack of great quarterback play will inevitably bite you in the ass. All right, we know that. That is what history shows us. Unless you can be Michigan. And if Ohio State this year under Chip Kelly, who, by the way, I think is the most innovative. I think he's the most innovative run game spread offensive mind we've ever had. All right, that guy's going to put in a run scheme that will blow your mind. I am with you. However, somebody's going to stop it. Somebody's going to stop it. And say what you want about Michigan last year. They still had a first rounder at the quarterback position. And when he needed to make extreme plays, he did exactly that. Okay, so we can't just be out here tomorrow. Oh, well, they're just going to run the ball to a natty. Who running the ball to a natty? All right, because even the ones that did had a first-round caliber quarterback at the position.
That's the point I was exactly about to make, is even though they were still, didn't utilize what everybody said that they have at the quarterback position, I mean, he still went in the first round. So a competent quarterback play and good quarterback play is very necessary in today's era of college football. I
like that word, competent. It can't lose you football games.
Absolutely.
They don't have to be the reason you're great, but they cannot lose you football games. And I'm not saying, Will Howard is that. I am saying I am the forward-facing and face of the anti-Will Howard deep state. Okay? That's me. I'm going to wear the pin on Saturdays. It's just going to say anti-Will Howard. And I'm going to wear it around like a badge of honor because that is my territory. Even though some people have tried to mark it off. But that's me. That's me, baby.
Planting the flag early on that.
We had that one CBS reporter comparing him to Kyle McCord, didn't we?
Yeah.
And really, really going in on the anti-Will Howard deep state. I'm just telling you, my eyes say, the stats say, too. And that's not great. But hey, maybe Chip can figure it out. I have faith that, with all the weapons, everybody knows they're going to be really, really talented out there. But I still think it is coach speak, but it's still a little hey, what are you doing?
We don't got to be doing this.
Definitely something to raise an eyebrow at.
Absolutely. Speaking of raising an eyebrow, Dennis Dodd, you do great work, so pardon the joke. Dennis Dodd wrote a love letter to a billionaire today, and that was awesome. I don't know why billionaires need love letters written to them, but we got one out of CBS Sports today. And I'm going to read it. I'm going to read about it to you. I'm going to read my notes on it because I read, so you don't have to. Shout out to the channel here. Make sure you're hitting that thumbs up button, like, subscribe, and rate and review him. Anybody know who David Miller is?
I do now.
He is not the lead singer of the Miller Band. He is not the guy from We Are the Millers. David Miller is a billionaire with a B, not a 100 millionaire, not a quarter billionaire. I'm talking about a full-fledged $3.2 billion billionaire. David Miller is a former SMU basketball player that literally struck oil. Not a joke, not a euphemism. He literally struck oil. In 2009, his net worth was completely unknown to the internet. After that, in 2010, his net worth skyrocketed north of $60 million thanks to a company called Oasis Petroleum. Man struck oil. Man now billionaire. Man love college football. Man now spend a lot of money on college football. That's what man does. And that's what this article was about today. He's now worth $3.2 billion. That's with a B. And he essentially bought SMU football to an extent. Many of you might remember that SMU is now part of the Atlantic Coastal Conference. They are now a member of the ACC. Those of you who didn't remember that definitely don't remember this part about it. They did so freely. They're not getting TV money at all. They signed up to be in the ACC because they were deathly terrified of what was happening to mid-major programs, and they freely walked into the ACC and said, hey, ACC, I know your TV contract shit. I don't even want it. We got David Miller. David Miller's going to fund our entire football program for the next 9 years. How much is that going to cost? $270 million. $270 million this foundation has come up with out there at SMU. $250 million. And mostly because of David Miller. So for those of you paying attention now, there are 3 individuals that are so damn rich and are so interested in owning a football team, but so clearly either can't get a pro team or just hate professional sports, that now they're out here bankrolling college football programs. One of them is Phil Knight, one of them is John Ruiz, and the other one's my boy David Miller. All right? And David Miller has hitched his pony wagon, pun intended, to the SMU Mustangs. Okay? And he is throwing a lot of cash at it. And the article today essentially forecasted SMU as this new player in college football because they got the bankroll. But the problem is they don't have the bankroll. They just got enough bankroll to get back even. However, they do have a bunch of money, and it ain't just David Miller. And we did some interesting research on this. Last year, their first year in the ACC in terms of recruiting, they finished second to last in recruiting. Dead last in recruiting. David Miller been swinging them bees around, and now they're what in the ACC?
They are ranked 4th.
Now they're ranked 4th in the ACC. They would probably be ranked 1 had Alabama not flipped Keelan Russell. We could all agree there.
Yeah.
I mean, not very many ACC teams got 5 stars committed to them.
I believe there's
Florida State's the only one?
Yeah, there's only one school ahead of them with a 5-star commit.
Okay. So David Miller out here making plays, which led us to ask the question to the chat or to you guys. How serious of a player could SMU be, and how much of an impact could this make?
Well, it can certainly make an impact, but you're going to have to get more of this. It can't just be one player involved in this, because since you are playing on your own dime in this conference, it's great that you're getting siphoned in with money, but that money isn't exactly going to what is required to build up great programs right now. Now, the great news for SMU, what makes them a threat in this conference, is that it continues to just kind of remain open. And that's being said before the 2024 season. Like Florida State could remain at the top of this conference. Clemson very well could be a dominant factor in this conference, or Virginia Tech, maybe they continue to surge on. There's a lot of players in this conference that potentially could become this, but with it being where the conference is at right now, SMU very well where they are, if they continue to recruit like they have, they could be a significant factor in a conference that is searching for one.
I'm shocked to be thinking about a world where SMU is a national title player, but I guess that's what deep pockets can do now.
I don't think
it's only a matter of time before they have gold Trans Ams.
And it's only a matter of time before regulation comes to the sport. This window is 3 years late. If SMU wanted to be a player, if David Miller wanted to be a player, he should have had enough foresight to know that, hey, this NIL stuff's coming. I better start throwing the bags while they allow us to do so. We better be operating the Wild Wild West while it's still legal to do so. Because within the next 18 months, guys, regulation's coming. So yeah, the Phil Knight Nike money might still be able to be siphoned to Oregon football players, but your oil money ain't. You're not going to be able to funnel it through an LLC and just give it to Johnny Walker, the football player. That's not how that works once regulation comes. All right. The other stuff and being able to have a massive booster like this bankroll you is great. It will allow them to become, I would imagine, a much more national player in the recruiting circuit, right? Because yes, they are in Dallas. Yes, there's a ton of money in Dallas, having just come from there. Okay, so if you have any interest in being some type of businessman once you get out of playing football, SMU is really, really ideal for you. It's a great location, and it's really the only player there. Fort Worth is 45 miles down the road, and that's where TCU is. All right, so I could see a year or a decade from now, SMU being on par with a program like TCU. I do not see SMU being on par with a program like Ohio State or Georgia.
No.
That to me is a little bit outrageous.
You know, that
Dennis Dodd.
it's interesting to think about too, because, you know, like revenue sharing is great unless you're SMU, because you're not getting money from your conference. So that doesn't benefit you in any way or anything like that, because everybody else is on a different playing field than you are because of that.
You paid for relevancy.
Yeah.
That's what they're doing. They're paying to be relevant. And granted, they've had an uptick in every, I mean, they're winning. They're winning on the football field too. I think they won 10 games last year.
10-3.
10-3. All right. But that was in the Mid-Mountain West. Right now, they're going to have to play in the AAC. They were the Atlantic or whatever, the non-ACC ACC conference that was the AAC. Does that even exist anymore?
I couldn't even tell you.
So.
Interesting. Conference realignment. Anyways, now they're in an ACC conference. Now they have to play an ACC schedule. We'll see what it ultimately looks like. However, $3 billion ain't nothing to snuff at.
No.
You know what I mean? You can't just ball outside, spit on that one. You just can't. You have to pay attention to it. So that's why Dennis went and gave him a back tap. Great job, billionaire. However, billionaire oil tycoons, get over yourself, buddy. You hit the lottery. You're not brilliant. You're not smart. Go invent something. Go bring something to my life that is of worth value.
Oil's not worth value to you.
Oil is certainly worth value. However, it does not require a certain amount of skills to get it done, right? You're just putting holes in the ground. And all of a sudden, boom, I'm Jerry effing Jones. No, you're not cool. You're not smart. You're just Jerry Jones. You don't feel this. Of all the billionaires and all the multimillionaires in this world, you don't think less of oil tycoons than you do a guy who, like, I don't know, invented some major medical technology that saves lives.
I mean, sure. There's rich people that you think less of compared to others. I mean, depending on like what they did to get there. But I ain't gonna hate on a man's money.
Yeah,
he got it. He
I think you're just hating.
I ain't hating on the money. I'm not hating. I'm jealous. First of all,
that's
sure.
Okay, that the Lord would just be like, yeah, this guy deserves $3.2 billion for digging a shovel in the ground. That's awesome. This other guy that spent 6 years in college and got 2 degrees, we're going to make him just absolutely grind it out to maybe one day, hopefully, make 6 figures.
And you know what? You'll feel a lot better about what you make than he will.
Piss off. Where are we at?
Well,
I think we're good on that.
We might have been wrapping that one up.
Should we go to must-haves?
Yeah, I think there was a misunderstanding here. That's on my fault.
Oh.
My must-haves were, or how I titled it was meaning, what are your must-haves for this season to be perfect?
Oh, well, this is great. Is this how you did it as well?
Yep.
All right, so you guys get to do that, and I get to do must-haves to actually win a title.
Okay.
I like that.
Okay.
All right, so who wants to go first? Hey, here's what we'll do. We'll go you, me, you.
Perfect.
Sounds good.
A nice
Love
sandwich.
That. Just a real confusion sandwich for the audience.
I like this. A little variety in a segment. It's always necessary. All right. So my 3 things. The first one, I want a tight race for the Heisman Trophy this year. I need 2 guys at least going at it by the end of it. Heading into conference championship weekend, it's going to be, if this guy throws for 500 yards and 4 touchdowns or whatever in this, if he outperforms the other, he's winning the Heisman this year. Last year, I mean, it was between Caleb Williams and it was between Jaden Daniels, but it kind of felt like it was Jaden Daniels to lose up until the very end of it, just with how things kind of unraveled at USC. Caleb Williams had a very bad game against Notre Dame. Jaden Daniels just continued to roll and was setting records. So this year, I would love for it to be just a tight race where when you're actually watching the Heisman ceremony this year, you're kind of sitting on the edge of your seat, not exactly knowing who's going to be stepping up to the podium, giving their speech. So that's one thing that I would like to see. My second one, a group of 5 team that's going to be in the playoff, but they have to deserve it. You should deservingly be there. I don't want a group of 5 team that is like, you're the best 9-3 team of the bunch. You have to at least be undefeated. You should be a fun team to watch at the very least, be entertaining, something like that. In the first year of an expanded playoff, and we're giving an auto bid to a group of 5 team, it at least better be a deserving one and not something where we're just walking into like, I don't even want to touch this with a 10-foot pole.
I mean, I would feel that way about Penn State at a 12 seed anyways, so.
Sure. But
I'm with you.
Yeah.
Earned.
For sure.
Better be earned.
And then my last one, with the expanded playoff, it better not be a flub. It better be everything that it was advertised to be this year. Every single game from first round to the national title game should be an absolute banger. It should be a great football. Now, of course, you can't have every single game be great. There's bound to be blowouts. We've known that just in the 14 playoff format. But I mean, there should be games in these 5 versus 12 matchups or so on in these seedings where it's a lot closer than maybe what people thought. It's not just going to be, well, the better teams are always going to overcome the others. I want this to actually be great. I want it to be what everybody has said, why the whole reason for the playoff to be expanded should be. I want this to actually hit like everybody says it should.
That makes me up, right?
Yep.
All right. So I have 3 things that are must-haves to win a national title. I also have some outside looking in categories that you have to have. Luck. We'll start with that. That's outside looking in. Got to have luck to win a national title nowadays.
Always.
You got to win every home game, I feel like, nowadays. Like, you can't be getting snuck up on at home as a top 10 football program anymore, because you're just not going to, you're going to eliminate your freebies. You're going to have some more freebies nowadays than ever before with the 12-team playoff. But if that also includes home field advantage. So, like, if you're really, really good at home and you get a home game, I feel really good about your chances to win that home game. All right, so that's the outside looking in. Now, here's the 3 real important things. Number 3, actually, we're going to build 1 to 3 because I think 3 is the one that's often left off here. Number 1, obvious, great quarterback play. And I'm not talking about decent. I'm talking about great. Like, at some point in your career, if I need you to go, I don't know, 28 for 36, throw for 320, 3 tuds, don't turn the ball over, you're the best player on the field. That way we win a tie, or we win a game 45 to 42. Football tells us you kind of need that at some point, right? Georgia needed it over Ohio State. Michigan didn't really need it last year, but they kind of did at times for JJ to play really, really great. You go back, Joe Burrow was obviously this, right? Clemson, both years that they won it, obviously this. Alabama, obviously this during the times when they won national titles. In the 14 playoff, it's only going to get more dependent upon great quarterback play as we add games into this, right? Depth is obvious. As we move to 16, sometimes 17 football games, if you have to play in the SEC championship game or your conference championship game and then don't get a top seed, you're going to be playing 17 football games to win a national title. You're going to have depth. And then number 3, this one's so often overlooked. You're going to have a top 25 defense, okay? And I think history in the 14 playoff kind of plays this out as well. You look at last year's 4 teams, I don't care how good offensively Washington was. They were 78th defensively. In my mind, I would have never picked them to win a national title. Same thing for Texas. They finished, I think, 35th last year. Finished 35th last year in yards per play on the defensive side of the football. It's just not good enough. It's eventually going to cost you in these extended playoffs. You're going to have to be not only serviceable, you're going to have to be an A- defensively to survive a multiple playoff game setting, because someone's going to have a good day against you. All right. And you're going to have to be able to stand up and at least be serviceable on the defensive side of the football.
I like it.
Defensive one is always forgotten, especially now because everybody's so focused on offense and the weapons that you have and scoring points. But defense is going to be the one that, I mean, at the very least, like, Georgia had all these great defenses over the years, but then they got in a shootout with some of these teams like Ohio State, and it was a matter of getting that one stop in a football game that completely flipped the script and changed momentum in those football games.
Flipping the script. Hell yeah.
That could be a kind of a tongue twister.
Yeah.
All right. 3 things I need this college football season. I need upsets and close games. Part of what being a college football fan is about is you get done watching one game, then someone goes, dude, holy shit, Alabama and USF are tied at 10 in the 3rd quarter. Games you weren't paying attention to coming in and then being like, oh my God, where is this coming from? I need that every week. I need the number 2 team to struggle against an unranked team. I need a top 10 team to get blown out by someone. Stuff like that every week. That's
you need a Bleacher Report notification saying, hey, somebody's about to get embarrassed.
Yes.
You need the Colorado versus Stanford notification that you got last year.
Yeah.
That was such a great game.
What it sounds like is you want the EA College Football 25 simulator season. That's really what it sounds like.
That thing is nuts.
It's always so
that
weird.
Thing is nuts.
You never know what's coming.
Georgia 9-4 with a 14-point loss to Clemson.
Georgia started out 5-5 one season for me.
What?
Yeah.
A cold day in hell. Cold day in hell.
They lost by Bama. They lost to Bama by 40.
Ooh, sheesh.
Yeah. Anyways, the number 2 thing I need chaos in the playoff. We've built up this playoff to be something, this is going to change this college football. I need the number 12 team to upset the number 5 team at home. I need stuff like that. If we get to the the semifinals and it's team 1, team 2, team 3, and then the 5th ranked team, it's going to be very disappointing. So I want to see chaos in the playoffs. Let's see Cinderella teams. Let's see what this playoff has really been advertised to be, kind of similar to what you're saying.
Yeah, you can root for that nonsense all you want, except for games that we're covering. We need them teams to keep on going.
That's fair.
That's what we need.
That's fine. That's good.
Selfishly.
Well, that's a business decision.
That is very much so a business
as a fan.
decision.
I'm talking about as a fan.
Are we the only network that will ever admit that publicly? That we have vested interest, literally, during those games.
For sure.
Probably.
Have to be. Everyone else tries to act like they're unbiased. My pocketbook is certainly biased. Certainly. Go ahead.
And then the final thing, I want to see a transcend in Heisman. I don't think college football has had this in the last 5 years. You could argue that Devontae Smith in 2020
was the last one.
Was the last one, but I don't even know if he
captivating is the word.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, as good as Devontae Smith's season was, and it was, he was incredible. That band, like the COVID year and the fact that it was only SEC teams, it just made it feel weird. I think Joe Burrow was one of the last guys. Like college football is better when you have the Baker Mayfields, the Johnny Manziels, the Lamar Jacksons, the guys that you have to.
Griffin III.
Yeah, like guys you have to stop and watch no matter who they're playing. I don't think the college football's had that in the last few years. So.
I didn't feel that way about Jaden.
You need a guy with an aura. That's what you need.
The only guy I really felt like that, and he was a massive disappointment the last couple of years, was Caleb Williams. And I only liked watching him because I knew I was going to see some shit that only he could do.
Right.
But again, massive disappointment. Last year especially. That Notre Dame game. Oof.
Oh, so bad.
So bad.
Ugly.
It was almost
so bad.
Yeah, it was just crazy.
So yeah, I think you need
disguising coverages. That's what they were doing.
Yeah. What, they dropped 8 the entire time?
Well, it was a combination of dropping 8, but it was also showing middle field open and then closing it, showing middle field close and then opening it. Like if you go, oof is right. And it was clearly he didn't have enough time to also, I'm not saying he couldn't figure it out, but he didn't have time to figure it out in that football game either. He was getting sacked. And at that point, he's just starting to put the ball up. One of those interceptions was tragically awful.
Oh, yeah.
The one of the running back, I think it was, where he threw it right into a defensive lineman's face while getting almost sacked off an RPO. It was just awful. So, yeah, you're right. We haven't had one of a transcendent, must-watch, tantalizing, I think is the word you used, Heisman candidate in a while.
Right.
Is there any chance Ollie Gordon turns into this year?
I would love for him to.
Could he have a Toby Gerhart type season?
That'd be awesome. I would love to see a running back dominate college football like that.
If you're carrying the Cowboys all the way to the playoff just from your legs.
What if it's like 9-4, but he has like 2,300 yards?
That's fine.
Sure.
I mean, Lamar Jackson lost 3 games this year. But Oklahoma State, you at some point have to be a top 10 team.
Correct.
Like Lamar Jackson had them ranked as high as like 6, I think.
Same thing for Baylor and RG3.
Yeah.
That was a 10-2 season for them.
Right. Like you have to have some sort of peak where you're a top 10 team, I think.
That's fair. All right. Those are the must-haves for the 2024 season. We had season requirements, things you want to see. I had national title requirements right here from yours truly. How about the boys not being on the same page, but somehow turning out even better content?
That's what we do.
How about them? All right, on to our next category, which unfortunately is Finebaum firing another joker. Like, so just to keep count here, Finebaum has fired Dabo Swinney within the next 3 years. He gone. No chance at a return.
Yep.
Unless they're just okay being 9-3 with the occasional 10-2. That is Paul Finebaum. Paul Finebaum has also fired Lincoln Riley. Already done. Nobody wants him. No chance. He's gone. Look at the players that are leaving him. It's a dumpster fire out at USC. And then today he fired Ryan Day. If Ryan Day doesn't win a title, if Ryan Day loses to Michigan, fired on spot.
I so disagree with this.
Yeah?
So disagree with this. Because while I think it is fair, and I understand this because this gets thrown in this conversation every single time of if you are hired to be the head coach at Ohio State or Michigan, your job is to do one thing and it's to beat Ohio State or Michigan. Like that is what your fan base cares about a lot. It's what they almost care about the most other than winning a national title. And I understand that has been an issue at Ohio State. But if Ohio State loses to Michigan this year, and then goes on to either play in the national title game or even be a top 4 team or wins the national title, nobody cares. Nobody cares that you lost to Michigan, in my opinion. If you do that, no one's going to be talking about that loss to Michigan. Everybody's going to be talking about either the game you came up short in the college football playoff or the fact that you won a national title.
Ryan Day's a 50-yard field goal away from never having to hear anything about this.
Facts.
So facts.
I mean,
Facts.
like that's
They would have done exactly what Georgia did to TCU.
exactly.
They would have skull drugged them dudes for 4 quarters.
No, I mean, the unfortunate thing is you missed that field goal. You blew a 2-score lead in the fourth quarter of a game, so you got to live with that now. But I don't think he's in any danger of losing his job. Ohio State's one of these teams. I think they're one of the few teams in college football where you can point at them and go, with this 12-team college football playoff, they'll make the playoff every year. Now, if they don't make the playoff this year, you can start talking about, hey, things might be heating up for Ryan Day, but the baseline can't be national title or bust.
It's not. It's beat Michigan or bust.
Yeah.
Which,
Is it even that? Because, I mean,
according to Finebaum, it is. Hunter Lacey's got a good point here. Saying it doesn't matter, it means you never had this conversation with an Ohio State fan. Because they despise that team.
I understand.
And no, you don't. Because you've never, your rival has never been that good. Never. Florida was, and you weren't even close to them at that point.
But I mean, it's the same thing. And I get this situation is different because you eventually avenge your loss in. But Georgia and Alabama was this.
Correct.
And it didn't matter. Like, it mattered until you won a national title, and you beat them in the national title game. So, like, you avenged that loss. But if you win a national title, you can't tell me that you're going to care about losing to Michigan.
Yeah, I mean, I
don't
said,
believe that.
Like I said, you're a 50-yard field goal away from that not matter. They lost at Michigan in 2022.
You're right.
They were Michigan fans or Ohio State fans were pissed off about Ryan Day. This is unacceptable. They make the playoff. They barely lose to Georgia, and no one's talking about how they. Now, obviously, you're upset that you lost to Michigan, but if you beat Georgia that year, you win the national title. No one's talking about, yeah, but he lost to Michigan. Michigan fans can use that to kind of take jabs at, but Ohio State would still be national champions.
Do we feel as if Ryan Day has been outcoached in any of these games? I would say Kirby Smart outcoached him in
the fourth quarter.
Well, no, before that, the timeout on fourth down on the fake punt was the biggest play. It was in the third, wasn't it?
I believe that was the fourth quarter.
Oh yeah. Either way, from that moment on, he coached circles around him.
Yeah.
So, but do we feel Michigan has outcoached him the last 2 years? Last 3 years?
Michigan out-physicaled them.
Yes.
And I don't know if you can say that's coaching or if that's just the fact that the players you develop. I mean, it all goes back to the coach. But I didn't watch any of those 3 games and go, it doesn't look like Ohio State knows what's going on right now. It looks like Ohio State can kind of tell what's happening, but they just can't do anything to stop it. Michigan's too physical. Michigan's too strong. So I don't know if necessarily you could say Ryan Day's gotten out coached. He's gotten out physicaled, which is why we're seeing, I think, him go back to this 2 running back thing. You're seeing so many Ohio State fans say, we're just going to run the ball this year because they're trying to be a more physical team. Now, whether that results in them not passing the ball at all, I don't think so. But you're going to see Ohio State try to be more physical, which I think will in turn see them run the ball more.
Also, who do you hire if you fire Ryan Day?
Exactly.
It's Ohio State, so you get a run at everybody, basically.
Yes, but
they almost exclusively hire from that region.
But I mean,
their last 3 head coaches are all Ohio guys.
But the way coaching carousels have gone over the last couple of years, we felt this way about Alabama, and then now they got it looks like Kalen DeBoer is going to be a home run hire. It looks like they got a really good head football coach, but at the initial start of it was Dan Lanning saying, I don't want the Alabama job. Everybody was turning head like Steve Sarkisian is not interested in the Alabama job. Who's to say that would go any different than Ohio State? And right now, nobody really feels like there's another Kalen DeBoer. Now, that could happen this season, but there doesn't seem to be another one lurking.
I don't think this is a question you have to have because I don't think Ryan Day's in any danger of losing his job.
Yeah,
I think this is Paul Finebaum kind of doubling down after Lane Kiffin torched him on air. Then say, you know what? I'm going to fire Ryan Day now because you said all that shit about me, Lane Kiffin. That's kind of the vibe I get from him.
Maybe we'll get a Ryan Day, Paul Finebaum moment in 10 years. You said that about me, and then they fired me. They were watching that TV. And then after that year, we lost to Michigan, and they fired me.
That'd be so funny.
I think it's crazy. I think it's absolutely wild that I mean, it's been like 10 years like this, right? Where Finebaum's like the voice of college football, it feels like.
The voice of the Southeast.
Yeah.
The voice of the SEC for sure.
And what a brilliant, people have told me before, we should take calls. I'm like, why in the hell would anybody doing college football content ever do calls? Because you're never going to do calls better than Paul did. Never. And even does now. He still does it really, really well. You'll never do calls better than Paul, ever. So stop doing them. They're never going to be as good. Because man, what a brilliant show concept. I'm going to show up. I'm going to say a couple things. And even nowadays, he doesn't say his things on his show. He says his things on First Take because they constantly roll them out there and make him say stuff. But on his show, it's just like, all right, we're going out to Clarice in Birmingham. Clarice, what do you got for us? Well, John called back an hour ago, and I'm going to tell you what, John doesn't know what the hell he's talking about. Roll Tide. I'm going to hang up and listen, Paul. And then it's just ratings through the roof.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely the audience runs that show. Like, I don't think that's unfair to say.
And Paul is this persona too where he can say something and nobody's going to dig up the dirt. Once it, like, at the end of the season, nobody's going to dig up the dirt of what did Paul Finebaum say at the beginning of the season. Like, let's go gotcha. No one's getting a gotcha moment on Paul Finebaum.
I don't know. Lane Kiffin pulled him up.
Lane Kiffin
kept receipts.
Lane Kiffin had receipts.
He kept deep receipts.
They ain't played nobody, Paul.
Has that ever happened where a coach
pulling receipts like that?
A coach just grills a media member?
Lincoln Riley got rid of one. At USC last year.
That was also like prompted. Like Paul Finebaum, correct me if I'm wrong, Lane Kiffin like sat down for the interview and Paul Finebaum started interviewing, and then Lane Kiffin was just like, yeah, remember when you said all this about me?
You kind of suck at your job.
Like,
bro.
He just had that loaded. Like, it wasn't like I don't think Paul Finebaum said anything super negative about Ole Miss and the program.
I think there was an NFL coach today who a media member asked him a question, or it may have been in college football. I can't remember. I was trying to find it real quick, but a reporter asked a question, and he said something like, "You said this earlier in the year," and the coach fired back and was like, "Well, based on your record, I would go to say that that's a false quote from me, that I didn't actually say that, knowing you."
Oh,
and then just moved on. So he kept receipts from that reporter.
Kirby asked a reporter last year if he basically knew anything about football.
Oh, I remember that one.
He's like, do you know what an inside zone is? I think is what he was asking.
Oh, I thought it was the reference to the Brock Bowers question.
Oh, no, the triple coverage. No one would ever be triple covered.
Yeah.
No, he did flame that guy that day. But he got one reporter last year multiple times, like jabbed him the next press conference he was in too, and the next one about this same concept. About, well, I know, the first time it was like, do you even know what that is? And then the second time it was like, remember, I had to tell you what that was. And then the third time it was like, do you remember? Do you remember what it was?
Damn.
So yeah, he'll get it every once in a while. He'll get in there and jab some folks, but most of the time he is very. The one that gets him. Are y'all running power plays, power run game? And he turned around and looked at that reporter and was like, power is a run play, right? And no, we do not run power. We do have a powerful style of football, but we are not out there running power.
Yeah.
Because he kept asking about power runs. And he's like, buddy, we don't run power. Power hadn't been ran in college football in 6-7 years. People are straight to counter nowadays. So, yeah, that one was always compelling. I do like when coaches kind of... Like when James Franklin cooked that one reporter last year.
Such a good
That was so weird.
Hey, James, weird question. You ever just throw it up? I'm about to throw up right now.
No matter what?
Question. No matter what?
That was so
just no matter what.
Didn't he say my brain hurts?
Yes.
He's like, I'm shaking right
you're
now.
shaking.
I'm shaking right now.
I feel chills crawling up my spine.
Oh, man. Making the case. I'm excited about this, JWIll. Explain this. What are you going to do here?
So I'm going to describe to you the team. I'm not going to reveal the name first, and this isn't a guess who, so I'm not trying to give you this information for you to eventually come to the conclusion of who this team is. I just think it's better if I build it up that way, and then in the end, I tell you who this team is, because I think if you do it this style, it kind of removes some of the that team, like automatic write-off. So this is how I have chosen to do it. So this is what I'll start with. This team does not have a single underclassman that is projected to start on either side of the football. It is littered with transfer seniors that have been with the football program, and juniors. Not a single sophomore or freshman. All upperclassmen for starting on both sides of the football. So I think that's a key note to remember as well. They returned their top rusher from last season, who finished with over 1,000 rushing yards. I think he was just under 1,200, I believe. They returned their top 3 wide receivers as well from last year. So offensive production, major returns there on both ends. They finished with a top 20 offense and averaged nearly 35 points per game. They were top 10 in both 30-plus yard plays and 40-plus yard plays on offense as well. So just a super explosive explosive offense. I mean, they were a high-powered offense. They were very successful with their starting quarterback having just played in 3 of those games. That starting quarterback is coming back this year, and that starting quarterback is also in the top 15 for the Heisman voting odds right now. So I say all that. And his last healthy season for the starting quarterback, he threw for over 2,000 yards, 14 touchdowns to just 3 interceptions. So when he is healthy...
He didn't start that full season, obviously.
No, he only played 9 games.
3, yeah.
Only 9 games, and he threw for that. Now, what if I told you this team could only go up against one top 25 ranked opponent in their schedule this year?
Then they're not in the SEC.
No,
they're not in the SEC.
I think it's Utah.
It is not Utah. Right conference, though.
Kansas State?
This is the Kansas Jayhawks.
Jalen Daniels.
Jalen Daniels.
Didn't I say earlier in the season I was...
You have been high on the Kansas love over the last couple of years. You do love yourself some Jalen Daniels. Let me read you the schedule. And this is what kind of got me intrigued about it, because I didn't want to just base this off the schedule of, it doesn't really matter if you have a crappy schedule, if you're a crappy football team. Mm-hmm. I don't believe this is going to be a crappy football team, at least on the offensive side. There are some questions despite the seniority that they have on defense, but the schedule is Lindenwood to open up the year, Illinois, UNLV, West Virginia, TCU, Arizona State, Houston, Kansas State, the one potential ranked opponent in my opinion, Iowa State, BYU, Colorado, Baylor.
No Arizona.
No Arizona.
No Arizona, no Utah.
No Utah.
That's a draw. That's a Missouri-esque draw out there in the Big 12.
Yes, it is.
That might... Ooh. We'll hold on that.
Rock chalk, baby. I'm buying.
We'll hold on the odds on that because maybe we got something coming up on that front. Okay. You know what I mean? But that sounds like good money. Mm-hmm. Kansas to win the Big 12. Sounds like really good.
That's my college football dark horse.
I like that.
I like it. I'm all in. I'm with you, JWIll.
I'm all in. Winning the Big 12, the Jayhawks. All right, we're king front and center of the Kansas Jayhawk bandwagon right here on the Film Guy Network. All right, I got one for you. And I think this one's going to be pretty easy to guess. So what we're talking about is playoff contenders that no one's really looking at. All right. This football team last year against Power 4 opponents, they allowed 454 total yards. Okay, they allowed 34 points per game against the 10 Power 5 opponents on their schedule.
Sounds like USC.
They were historically great offensively last year. Really, really great. However, they were obviously historically bad on the defensive side of the football. I'm ad-libbing here. 2 first-rounders on the offensive line alone. They do have to replace a quarterback. However, he's been in the system for quite some time. They got to replace a bunch of weapons, but this program has historically just spit out wide receivers and tight ends as well. Defensively, they were historically bad, but they've done everything apart from reinventing the entire roster to make that defense that much better. This whole idea of guesses kind of ruins you guys over there because I told you who it was pre-show.
Yeah, I was really thinking about being a dick and just immediately saying it before you even started listening.
Chat's picked up on it.
Yeah,
it's LSU. LSU has to be 70% of what they were offensively last year and just make minuscule improvements defensively. Guys, they gave up 500 yards of total offense last year, I think 5 times, including a game in which they gave up over 700 yards total offense. They were awful last year. And it wasn't, I don't believe it was because they just had shitty football players on the field, because this is LSU that we're talking about, okay? They had good football players. They did not do the right thing at all last year. I believe, was Bo Pelini still their defensive coordinator last year?
No.
Or is this 2 years removed from Pelini's nightmare?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is 2 years removed from Pelini's nightmare.
I don't think Bo Pelini's been there since Orgeron.
Well, Kelly's only been there 2 years. Anyways, it was bad last year, and they went out and made massive improvements on the defensive side of the football. They literally fired every defensive coach and hired 6 new ones.
Pelini hasn't been there since 2020.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's been a while.
Yeah, Orgeron.
But it was Pelini bad.
Yeah.
It was worse than Pelini bad.
I think LSU is going to make improvements on the defense. The question is, how much is their defense going to improve? Because I think you're going to have a drastic drop-off on offense. Like Jaden Daniels, as good as that offense was last year, it was centered around Jaden Daniels. He was a 1,000-yard rusher for them. He was their quarterback, so obviously all of your passing yards come from him, but you also lost 2 wide receivers.
Here's what the argument's really, really based on. I think Nuss is serviceable. I think he's a really good
definition of competent quarterback.
Sure.
Facts. I think offensive line, they're good. weapons. They're going to figure it out. Running back stable is finally somewhat secure. Defensively, I've already talked about all the additions on the staff. But here's the real reason. We talk about Missouri's schedule. Listen to this one. USC, Nichols, USC Junior, UCLA, South Al, Ole Miss, at Arkansas, at Texas A&M, Bama, at home, at Florida, Vandy, and Oklahoma. There are 2 games on that schedule they're not going to be favored in.
So it's easy. It feels like a comfortable 10-2.
Should be 10-2.
Yeah,
Nothing's comfortable in this conference.
I think it's 9-3. I think.
Who gets them outside of those 2 that I just said? I'm going to go ahead and mark down losses at Bama and Ole Miss. Find me the other one.
A&M and College Station is not going to be easy. Fayetteville, I mean, you should beat that team, but that could sneak up on you. You could lose to USC. You could lose.
Arkansas beats you.
The only other 2 I'm circling are Texas A&M and Oklahoma.
Oklahoma at the end of the season could also be a problem.
I was going to say Oklahoma because end of season Jackson Arnold
is going to be hot, you would imagine. Or he has no confidence left. One or the other. There's no in between there.
That's also hitching my wagon to the fact that Venables is going to have the Oklahoma football team playing that well into the end of the season. And that's something that I don't really feel 100% confident in.
There's a 4-game stretch from Arkansas, A&M, Bama, Florida. 3 of the 4 of those games are on the road.
Correct.
Like, that's tough.
Correct.
I could very well. I mean, you have to assume they're going to lose to Bama. I could very well see them tripping up against a Florida in Gainesville or an A&M somewhere. Because, I mean, you're at the point where Billy Napier's going to be throwing the kitchen sink at you if he's still there. Or you're also going to be at the point where the interim coach has gotten that locker room to buy back in and Florida looks completely different in the middle of November. So, like 10-2, they should be that. I agree with you on that. But I would not be shocked if this team goes 9-3.
10-2 is playoff bound.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I think you got to be top 3.
9-3 is getting a little close.
If Georgia and Texas both go 11-1, play in an SEC championship game, LSU and Missouri are both 10-2, who goes?
LSU, I would say.
It depends on.
I don't know.
There's so many factors.
We have to know where the wins are, where the
it's the
losses are, how they do it.
losses.
We all know that. But I'm just saying, I think there is a chance we look up at the end of the year and 3 and 4 in the SEC are fighting for a playoff spot. That's not ideal.
That would scare me as a Missouri fan. It's great that you have this schedule that you do, but having the weaker schedule in the SEC where it very easily could come down to this discussion of we have 2 teams that are 10-2, one's Missouri, one's LSU. Despite LSU having one of the easier schedules as well, we would definitely say that that's a tougher schedule than what Missouri has.
Because, I mean, you have to assume that for as bad as we think Lincoln Riley's doing right now, USC's going to hover around the top 25 for the remainder of the season. So. If you beat that team week 1, that's a good win on your record. That's a better win than I think Missouri has other than if you beat Bama.
I've been sitting here trying to rack my brain on who's going to win the Big 12, and I don't think I like a take more than Kansas to win the Big 12. I love that take.
I like the Jayhawks. I've been very high on the Jayhawks.
So I had Duke last year. Duke was my team. Kansas is my team this year.
We're going to ride the Hawks.
Oh, yeah.
I like that.
Rock
shorter
chalk,
blue,
baby.
Basically, with the red in there.
Or is shorter Kansas blue?
Oh, no. Short is the OG, baby. Short is the OG. Don't you worry about that, dog. That's
I don't know.
That's firstborn with the shorter blue.
Kind of looks like you took an off-brand Jayhawk and put it on there.
Oh, I mean, y'all out here hating is what you're doing. I mean,
no disrespect to the alma mater.
Sounded like some disrespect.
No.
Towards the alma mater. Right next to the jersey, too.
Look, same way Georgia's got to give the nod to Green Bay. I mean...
the chat just hit us with some stone cold facts. Shorter is bankrupt. Ain't no doubt about that. Shorter could use a Daniel Miller or whoever my man's name was, David Miller.
Well, maybe if you go poking around with a shovel, you can be that.
You know what? After tonight's show, I'm going digging in my backyard, and maybe I'm the next David Miller. And people can call me this innovative football mind, and Dennis Dodd's going to come around here and give me a pub piece. That would be so awesome. I think that's one of my favorite takes so far. Oil tycoons, kind of dumb.
Frauds.
Not smart.
I don't think chat. I don't think
not elite.
I don't think the rest of the audience is going to take kindly to that.
I don't think they liked that one. Hunter Lacey did not. Hunter was like, "You don't know nothing about oil industries." I don't know. Seems kind of lucky to me. Let's go find some oil.
Like there's more to it than just you see mud in your backyard and like, oh, I'm rich now. Like there's more to that.
Is it?
Yes.
Okay. If you say so.
If you say so.
I say we got a whole other hour coming up right now. And hey, well, get me back in too, because I got to tease this.
Ooh.
This coming up segment has already been ran by the building up there at Georgia, and it was something we stumbled upon talking about in-state takes. And it started out with a research project of, hey, let's just look at the number one players in the state over the last 10 years and see what happened. Well, I took that and multiplied it by 5. I looked at the top 5 players in the state over the last 8 cycles. And boys and girls, let me tell you something. We found out a lot about Kirby Smart in this research project, coming up in just about 45 seconds. Welcome into Talk the Dog, the show where we find a bone to pick and a take to give. These are not hot takes. These is dog takes. Can I talk that dog? What's up? You like that? You really like that? Let's shut up and grab some tape. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back for our Talk That Dog segment. We're going to talk Georgia football for about an hour right here. So if you're a newcomer and you don't support directly the Georgia Bulldogs, it's okay. You're still going to learn a lot about roster acquisition and roster strategies, and kind of let you know how the best roster in college football has been doing it over the last 7 or 8 years during Kirby Smart's run as an elite recruiter. Appreciate you for being here. Make sure you hit that thumbs up button, like, subscribe, rate, review, all that good stuff. We're on the road to 30,000 subscribers. We are very thankful for what we have. We are very ambitious for what is to come here on this network. We appreciate you guys for being a part of the growth. Let's open with this. Jordan Hall's injury today, or the injury news today, of what appears to be a hairline fracture. It was reported as a fracture in the lower body. I'm going to classify this as a hairline fracture without any sourcing, and here's why. Everything we know and everything I've been told is that he's going to be at least available for the first game of the season, and he will be ready to play come the start of the season. That is the goal. That is the ambition. That is what they are expecting. That don't sound like a major fracture to me. That sounds like something that is very, I guess, would classify under the minor category here. That's good news. Bad news is he's going to miss fall camp. And if there's anything we learned last year from Kirby Smart, it's that if you miss fall camp, they don't expect you to have a great start to the season because you're playing yourself into football shape as the season goes on. Michael Williams had this happen to him last year where he got banged up during the summer. I believe it was a foot thing last year.
Toe, I believe, yeah.
A toe, something revolving around the foot. Was not 100% for camp, was finally 100% come like October, and then played his way into shape as the season progressed. So we expect the same thing here from Jordan Hall, boys.
It's really tough because this is one of those positions, one of the very few positions on this football team where people are kind of still figuring out, or they're kind of excited to see because they want it to be better than it was maybe a year ago. And Jordan Hall, one of these names that people want to see inserting themselves into the mix, becoming a bigger factor than he was last year. So knowing that he's going to miss all of fall camp this year, kind of a hit to the defensive line room, but still, you got some good bodies there. I think you still have depth there, but one of those names where you would have liked to have seen have fall camp.
It's great news that Kristen Miller flirted and didn't go with the portal, right? That's incredible news there for you guys. It's also great news that Xavier McLeod seems to be what he was recruited to be coming out of high school. There was a year there at South Carolina. The South Carolina fans will tell you, and Shane Beamer will tell you, this guy was a problem, or this guy didn't want to be here, or whatever. That stuff. You're a football player at Georgia. You're not going to lip off to Trey Scott. You know what I mean? Especially when you're on year 2 or school 2 in year 2. I think those things are going to be handled. The performance of Xavier McLeod is going to pay dividends, I would imagine, this fall. So that's the good news for Georgia. The bad news, obviously, is that he's going to miss camp. The even better news, he's going to be available for the season.
I think the good news is this is the first injury you've had to deal with so far. I know you worry about the injury bug constantly, and there's still a lot of time to go before the season starts and throughout the season. But the fact that you're not being inundated with, hey, this person sprained his ankle, hey, this person's banged up, this person's sitting out. The fact that Jordan Hall, while it is an injury, should be available for the 2024 season is relatively good news.
Absolutely. All right, that is the Jordan Hall news. We have the year of the dog in the NFL upon us. JWIll is going to tell us about that here in just a little bit. Mike Norvell complimented, but backhand complimented Georgia today at ACC Media Days. We'll talk a little bit about that. Georgia, apparently, according to JWIll, is going to get the last laugh on Nick Saban. I can't wait to hear that one. Potentially get the last laugh on Nick Saban. I'm mentally trying to wrap my head around how it even happens, but I can't wait for him to explain that to us tonight. Georgia's defensive back room will be tested by year's end. We'll tell you why. But most importantly today, we got a deep dive, and I'm talking about a deep dive on the player acquisition strategy at the University of Georgia. And when you really... we went into this research project with no real idea on what the point of doing so was. At the end of our conclusion and at the end of the collection of the data, it is so blatantly obvious what the conclusions are that I had to bring it to you. I had to bring this to you because I think this kind of pulls the curtain back on just how good Kirby Smart is at his job by doing it this way. So let's go to the board and let's get this done. All right. So everybody knows the state of Georgia is an elite production state with regards to prospects, right? Great football happens here in the state of Georgia. Great football players come out of the state of Georgia. We know this, all right? And there's always this, could Georgia just pin down the in-state really high-ranked football players and leave with a top-ranked class? Yes, I've always said that. They could. They could just hammer down the state of Georgia. They'll leave with a top 3 class, and that will be it. However, Georgia doesn't take every in-state Power 4 football player. Georgia doesn't even get heavily invested in the recruitments of every single Power 4 caliber football player in the state of Georgia. And when you look at the top 5 ranked players in every single class over the last 8 years, you're going to come to find that Kirby Smart, spoiler alert, knows what the hell he's doing. So let's start with 2024 and 2023. We're going to go all the way back to the 2017 class, which was Kirby's first real class at the University of Georgia. So here's what we're going to do. We are going to highlight the misses in yellow. Okay, these are football players that you actively recruited, but you missed out on, right? We're going to put X's next to those names. Obviously, Dylan Raiola was committed at one point. You missed on him. He ends up at Nebraska. Sammy Brown, you recruited. He ends up at Clemson. You wanted that one, all right? Over here in the 2023 class, Caleb Downs, you wanted, you missed. Vic Burley out of Warner Robins, you wanted, you missed. Justice Haynes out of Buford and Blessed Trinity, you wanted, you missed. Okay, so there's 5 misses over the last 2 classes out of the top 10 ranked players. Now, let's talk about this other category. These are categories of players that may or may not have offers from Georgia, but I'm telling you as the insider that you guys trust and you guys come for opinions of, they weren't really heavily invested in. They didn't really want. They weren't full takes, okay? This is going to sound crazy, but Edric Houston fell into this category last class. They weren't in love with Edric Houston. They didn't die. They weren't dying to take Edric Houston's commitment. So Edric Houston went elsewhere. The same for Luke Kromanoke, who the idea that Luke Kromanoke was the 5th ranked player in the state of Georgia last year is baffling to me. It's absolutely baffling. He's a good football player. He'll do all right at Florida State. He was not the 5th ranked player in the state of Georgia last year. Okay. I can think of half a dozen. Daniel Calhoun being one of them. All right. So anyways, not a take in the top 5. You get it, right? CJ Allen was a take, or you ended up landing him. All right, DJ Chester, he's going to start at center this year for LSU. He was a 4-star recruit coming out of Eagles Landing Christian Academy. All right, you might know that name and you might know that school because Georgia actually somewhat recruited the big fat offensive tackle that was with DJ Chester that ended up at Clemson and is now at Colorado. They didn't actually fully invest in him, but they gave him an offer. They never offered DJ Chester. He was committed to Arkansas, flipped to LSU right before National Signing Day. So here we go. Just the last 2 classes, right? You land KJ, you land CJ Allen, you miss 5 of the guys in state, and you weren't interested in 3 of them. All right, at the end of this, I'm going to give you a full rundown, so don't worry about me erasing these names because we're about to. All right, there you see. And by the way, the takes in this class, everyone truly believes KJ Bolden's going to be an elite football player. We all agree that, right? CJ Allen's got a chance to be an All-American this year as a true sophomore. They 100% hit on those 2 takes. All right, so let's erase those and let's go on to 2022. Okay, we're going to write in pink again. We got 2022, and we'll go class by class, 2021, all the way down to 2017. All right, in 2022, there was Travis Hunter, okay? Travis Hunter. I'm going to tell you right now, that was a miss, but we'll get to it in a second. All right, Starks. Everybody knows how that one ended up. Mykel Williams. Everybody knows how that one ended up. Okay. Who else we got? We got LT Overton. That's Labius Overton. Ended up at Texas A&M after reclassing and has since transferred to Alabama. Speaking of Alabama, Elijah Pritchett was in this class as well. Let's go ahead and go through this right quick while we're here. All right. So the guys you did not recruit, nobody. You missed on all of these guys that you attempted to land. Travis Hunter, you were after, you did not land. LT Overton, you were after, you did not land. Elijah Pritchett, actually, this is wrong. You were late on Elijah Pritchett, okay? Y'all had a chance to be the first school to offer Elijah Pritchett. You passed. Alabama offered the next day. It was held over your head the rest of his recruitment, okay? So you didn't really get heavily involved. However, you tried. You were going to try again if he were ever to enter the portal. He turned out to be a quote-unquote miss. He's kind of like a hairline or a toss-up, I should say, in between these two classes. We all know, again, you landed Starks, you landed Mykel. All right, so let's go on to 2021. All right, 2021. You got Mims, was the top-ranked player in the state of Georgia. Then Barrett Carter was the second-ranked player in the state of Georgia. All right, he goes to Clemson. And then guess what? You go 4 for 5 out of the top 5 guys in the state of Georgia. Nyland Green ends up at Georgia. Smile Mondon ends up at Georgia. Brock Vandegrift ends up at Georgia. All right, so you take these 3, boom, or excuse me, 4, boom, 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 and then you miss, okay, you miss on Barrett Carter. All right, so pretty good class there. You go 4 for 5 out of that class. The class was really, really good in state. All right, let's erase these again. All right, we see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 takes out of the top 10 players in those 2 classes. Only 1 player that you didn't really recruit. The rest you were heavily involved in. By the way, the rest are great football players. All these guys are already great football players in college, except for these 2. These are the only 2 that have kind of questions about their collegiate production. Labius Overton and Elijah Pritchett. The rest of these guys been on the field. Oh, Brock Vandegrift too. Haven't been on the field yet. But nonetheless, you see it right there. Okay. On to 2020. Guys, I promise if you're sitting there wondering, what the hell is this guy doing? Why is he even going through this? I'll tell you at the end of this. All right. In 2020, the class looked like Will Anderson at the top. All right. Will Anderson at the top. You got A-Rick Gilbert right after him. Okay. A-Rick Gilbert right after him. All right. Miles Murphy right after him. Kid out of Hillgrove High School that ended up at Clemson and was a top of the 2nd round pick, I believe. Broderick Jones. Okay. Right here. Everybody knows what happened there. You landed him. And Jahmyr Gibbs. I'm going to mess up spelling Jahmyr's first name, so I'm just going to put Jahmyr Gibbs. All right. Let's go through this. Jahmyr Gibbs, a non-recruit. Didn't recruit him. That's a miss. That's a miss. It's the only one we're going to talk about tonight. Of the guys you did not want, has showed no interest in and were absolute ballers. Jahmyr Gibbs stick out like a sore thumb in this list right here. All right, you weren't interested in that one. All right, you did want Will Anderson. However, it's a classic Elijah Pritchett situation. You were late on Will Anderson. That's why he didn't want to go there. All right, they offered first. You did not. You missed on A-Rick Gilbert. You did not recruit Miles Murphy. Not even a little bit. All right, obviously you landed Broderick Jones. So you go 1 for 3 on prospects that you are recruiting, and I would say you went 1 for 2 on the prospects you avoided. Right? Miles Murphy did not live up to the 5-star status. Definitely wouldn't have lived it up even more at the University of Georgia. You would imagine at that position playing behind guys like Trayvon Walker during his time. So that guy probably wouldn't have cracked the lineup at Georgia. Good job avoiding that one. Jahmyr Gibbs, that's a miss. All right, let's go on to 2019 rather. All right, we only have a couple more of these guys, so hold on with me. I know, long segment. Trayvon Walker was the number 1 ranked player in 2019. He ends up at Georgia. We all know that. All right. In 2019, Kyle Hamilton was the 2nd ranked player in the state of Georgia. He ends up at Notre Dame. All right. You missed. Hazelwood was right after that. You might have thought you were heavily involved in Jaden Hazelwood. You were not. I'm going to tell you that right now. Towards the end, that one got a little bit too hectic for even Kirby Smart. All right, Owen Papo on this list and Harry Miller on this list. If you're wondering who Harry Miller is, Same. I was too. He's already retired from football. All right, so there we go. You were not involved. You did not want, nor did you recruit. Harry Miller, you did not recruit Owen Papo. You got the hell out of the Jaden Hazelwood stuff upon his official visit. All right, if you want the story, patreon.com/Brooks Austin. All right, you missed on Kyle Hamilton and you landed Trayvon Walker. All right, so that's what happened in 2019 with regards to the best players in the state of Georgia. Let's erase this again. All right. Let's go back. We are now into 2018 and 2017, the last ones we're going to do here on tonight's show. All right, let's go through 2018. Let's get back to pink. All right, we're going to 2018. Trevor Lawrence. Everybody remembers that one? All right, that's a miss early, so says the boys. You guys were around and heavily involved during the time. You obviously landed Justin Fields in this class after missing on our guy Trevor Lawrence. Jamari Sawyer ended up a dog. All right, Adam Anderson ended up a dog in this class as well. All right, and then the number 5 ranked player in this class from the state of Georgia, Quay Walker, you landed as well. In this class in 2018, you landed, 8 of the top 11 players in the state of Georgia.
Lord.
You took, I believe, 11 players from the state of Georgia. The 3 players that were nowhere near the top 10, who were they? Warren Erickson, Tramel Wallflower, Chris Smith. Oh, I don't know, only multi-year starters. Okay, one of them, Chris Smith and Warren Erickson, were ranked in the 50s in the state of Georgia. Tramel Wallflower was ranked 78th in the state of Georgia. You took those guys. It was so funny, really doing this exercise today, to see Chris Smith and Warren Erickson's name sandwiched by 2 Minnesota commits that I've never heard of on the rankings. All right, 2 Georgia contributors surrounded by Minnesota can't play guys. All right, here we go. 2017. Let's go on to this list. Oh, we got to talk about this. All right, missed on Trevor Lawrence and then got the rest. Bang, 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 bang. Again, 8 of 11 in that top ranked class in the state of Georgia that year. Let's go on to 2017, our last year. Okay, in the last year, LeCount was the highest rated player in the class from the state of Georgia. Obviously, you landed him. Davis Mills, the quarterback out of Greater Atlanta Christian, you passed on and he went over to Stanford. Aubrey Solomon, a defensive lineman out of Lee County, ended up at Michigan before transferring to Tennessee. All right. Who would be the that would be Andrew Thomas. I'm like, who is the Thomas here on this list? Andrew Thomas and Jake Fromm were the 4th and 5th ranked player, bless you, in that class. You landed them. All right. So let's go through this again. Land, did not recruit, missed, land. All right. Now, why did I do this? Okay, why did I go through this? Why did I write all this out for you guys, even though you can't hold the mental picture? Because I'm flashing them through. All right, well, here's the reason, because I already did it for you. All right, since 2018, there have been 40 players that have been ranked inside the top 5. All right, over those 8 classes, we're talking about 40 football players that the consensus rankings has all ranked inside the top 100. They're the 5 highest ranked football players in the state of Georgia. Let's take a look at these names. All right, you have landed 17 of them. 17 of those 40 players were takes, full-on takes. You recruited them, you landed them. By the way, 15 of those 17 were multi-year starters at the University of Georgia. The only 2 that were not, Brock Vandergriff doesn't really count, Nyland Green. So you missed one. You missed one out of the 17 that did not make an impactful, make an impact on your roster. Listen to some of these names, guys, that they have taken from the state of Georgia. KJ Bolden, CJ Allen, Michael Williams, Malachi Starks, Amarius Mims, Nyland Green, Smile Mondon, Brock Vandergriff, Broderick Jones, Trayvon Walker, Justin Fields, Jamari Sawyer, Adam Anderson, Quay Walker, Richard LeCount, Andrew Thomas, Jake Fromm. Guys, they are batting 1,000 when they take a top-ranked kid inside the state of Georgia. Now, let's talk about these players that they, quote, missed. All right, let's talk about these players that they missed. These are guys that they really, really wanted, they actively recruited, and they missed. All right, even these guys, the hit rate on this in terms of like guys that were dudes in college football, these were really, 13 misses. My bad, I had a wrong number here. We're going 13 right there. 13 misses. Listen to these names of guys that they've recruited that they missed out on. Dylan Raiola, Sammy Brown, Caleb Downs, Vic Burley, Justice Haynes, Travis Hunter, LT Overton, Elijah Pritchett, Barrett Carter, Will Anderson, A-Rick Gilbert, Kyle Hamilton, Trevor Lawrence, Aubrey Solomon. Guys, there's like 3 names in there that just weren't good in college football. Aubrey Solomon, touch and go. Let's see here. A-Rick Gilbert, obviously touch and go. Who else we got that's a miss? Elijah Pritchett hadn't got on the field yet. LT Overton hadn't got on the field yet. Apart from that, those are all NFL football players that you really, really wanted and you lost recruitment battles on from the state of Georgia. But you were actively involved. Now, here's where it really stands out, right? Those 13, I said they were, basically 17 for 17 on these guys. They were all really good football players. If they didn't work out, there was a reason why. It wasn't because of the player, right? Of these 13 misses, we said 3 of those guys weren't any good, right? They really didn't have very good college careers, all right? So they've really only missed on 3 guys so far that were takes. All right, now let's look at this last category. These are guys that they just did not recruit. All right, in the category of guys that they did not recruit, there are 10 guys in this rankings. All right, 10 players out of the 40 that the consensus ranking said these guys are great. If they go elsewhere, that is a loss on Georgia's standard, right? How dare you let somebody like this get out of the state? Let's talk about these 10 football players. All right, these 10 still to be determined. I'm not going to sit out here and crap on Edric Houston, Luke Cromanoke, or DJ Chester, even though someone already have. All right, Elijah Pritchett still to be determined. Miles Murphy, nope. I mean, for Clemson, but not for Georgia. All right, probably a good miss there. Jahmyr Gibbs, that's the one we're going to put over here as damn, coach.
Yeah.
Damn, coach. That's a oof, right? But other than that, Jahmyr Gibbs, Jaden Hazelwood, nobody regretting that one, right? Owen Papo, nobody regretting that one. Our boy Harry Miller, ain't nobody regretting that one. Davis Mills, ain't nobody regretting that one. The dudes in this state that he is allowing to go elsewhere, buddy, if you're taking that guy, you better have a red flag next to that name, because there is very little guarantee that he is going to be a great college football player. When I laid it out like this of guys, the non-takes, the hit rates here in these 2 categories are drastically higher than the 1 out of 10 over here. That to me was the whole purpose of what we just did. Of basically saying, hey, if Georgia lets a guy go from this state, then it's warranted. They just don't think the guy's very good, and history says they're damn right when they do so. I don't know how the chat felt about that. I'm sure they felt that was really way too long. But it's just the way I did it. LOL, 17 for 17 is hilarious. Y'all padding them stats. I mean, you can argue if you want. I just laid it out right there in front of you. Who are you taking out of this category of takes that were hits? You think KJ Bolden's going to miss? You think CJ Allen's missing? Because he ain't. Starks, first rounder. Michael Williams, first rounder. Amarius Mims, first rounder. Nyland Green, didn't work out. We'll give you 16 out of 17 on that. So, yeah, we'll give you 16 out of 17. Smile, yep. Brock Vandergriff just didn't have a chance. Never played. How would you even know? Broderick Jones, first rounder. Justin Fields, first rounder. Jamari Sawyer, third rounder, NFL starter. Adam Anderson, great college player. We all know what happened. All right. Richard LeCount, great college player. Andrew Thomas, first rounder. Jake Fromm, good to above average college quarterback. There ain't misses. There's one. And the guy didn't get to play because first-round corners played in front of him.
Yeah, I was about to say, Nyland Green isn't even a miss, really. It was just that he ran out of time to get onto the field at Georgia. It wasn't like, you need to get out of here because you're not any good, like we miss on you. It was like, dude, go get playing time at somewhere like Purdue and make the field. Like, go to the NFL. Don't stay around here and sit on the bench anymore because you need to play.
So now PZ's pushing back on the KJ Bolden selection. But I'm going to tell you right now, KJ Bolden's going to be a great college football player. That's not a stretch. It's not a stretch at all to say that. He's going to play this year. He looked great in the spring game. There is nothing about Elijah Pritchett's career so far to let me know for a fact that he's going to be really, really good. Even though I ranked him the number 1 tackle coming out of high school. I love Elijah Pritchett. I think that was a little bit too much. But anyways, He literally just said UGA only lets guys go out of state if they're not good enough.
That's not true because he's talking about Travis Smith and Christian Gass. Travis Smith and Christian Gass were both recruited by Georgia.
Yeah, those were classified as misses. If we were to do that right now in 2025, which we did not, Christian Gass and Travis Smith Jr. are misses. They actively recruited those guys. Tennessee won those recruitment battles.
There's a difference between the non-takes and the misses.
What's the point of doing a 15-minute segment if nobody listens?
I don't know, man.
It's crazy. I thought it was really, really good stuff.
It was. It lays out basically that if Kirby Smart's letting a guy walk, there's probably a good chance you're not going to feel bad about missing out on that.
Correct.
The part I loved the most was when you discovered Warren Erickson, Tremont Walthour, and who was the other one that you mentioned?
Oh, the Chris Smith, the 2018
Chris
class.
Smith.
The 2018 class shows exactly what kind of recruiter Kirby Smart was ultimately going to be. It's 9 of the top 11 players from the state of Georgia. Almost every single one of those guys 8 out of 11. The 3 guys that he passed up on, I'm going to get it to you here in a second. But the 3 guys that he passed up on that were top ranked kids they were not very good football players except for Josh Vann. Let me read this list to you. Okay. Go to the state rankings right here in 2018. Obviously, Trevor Lawrence was the highest ranked player in that class. Justin Fields was number 2. Jamari Sawyer was number 3. Adam Anderson, 4. Quay Walker, 5. Brenton Cox, 6. Landed Brenton. Otis Reese, number 7. J.J. Peterson, an outside linebacker to Tennessee, the 8th ranked player in this class, 74th nationally, Tennessee. I don't remember J.J. Peterson being actively recruited by Georgia. Maybe he was, maybe he wasn't. Josh Vann, a wide receiver out of Tucker, went to South Carolina and was fairly good in college. Yes. And then it's, Trey Hill, Aziz Ojolari. They let Kyler McMichael go to Clemson, a 4-star corner out of Greater Atlanta Christian. Never heard of it. And then look, this whole list, you got to go down to 24 before you find the next Georgia commit. It's Karis Jackson. And then you keep scrolling. 35th in the state, Warren Erickson. 36th, Chris Smith. Again, surrounded by Clemson and South Carolina commits. An Auburn commit right after that. Notre Dame. All right, big time football programs coming into this state and trying to pick off football players that essentially Georgia, I'm not going to say did not want, but didn't want. You know what I mean? So this is a thing only really afforded to Kirby and Georgia, and maybe to an extent Alabama, in terms of players that are in my state that maybe I don't want and I will allow to go elsewhere. Mm-hmm. California has the amount of talent to do this, but USC hasn't been recruiting like this. When Pete Carroll was there were great players from California that weren't good enough to play at USC. This happens when you become an elite football program.
To heck with those stars.
That's the other thing. That was my initial conclusion. He doesn't give a rat's ass about rankings, and the takes were almost all home runs. He also has a very keen eye for people he doesn't think are going to be very good.
For sure.
The list of the guys he wasn't invested in was the whole point of doing that segment. 1 out of 10 of those football players, Jahmyr Gibbs, and then the rest are like, wow, how about the foresight to let that guy go? You know what I mean? There's a lot of that going on in these recruitment processes. So you bring data to anybody that's not a Georgia fan in the chat tonight, and they're like, listen to this homer out here. I thought that was useful.
Yeah, I love that.
You're the dog?
You're the dog in the NFL. How about that? This comes from you started hearing some things about some different football players for Georgia. And when I was thinking about their career arc this season for their NFL organizations, I used the word optimism, but I think that we just kind of settled on they provide some excitement for these football teams. So I'll just kind of give you a list. I wrote an article about it, so I'll give you the list I did in the article. Ladd McConkey, for an example, with the Los Angeles Chargers. The Chargers no longer have Mike Williams. They no longer have Keenan Allen. They no longer have Austin Eckler. They're kind of searching for this offensive identity this year, and first-year head coach Jim Harbaugh back in the NFL. But you still have Justin Herbert. So you have somebody that can absolutely distribute the football. Ladd McConkey is an answer that they have at wide receiver, one that they are very excited about, one of the first picks in the second round. He provides some excitement, some optimism for that offense because he is a guy that you can throw in there week 1, and he can be a viable option for Justin Herbert to throw to. I got 2 of them for the Las Vegas Raiders. They have some questions at quarterback, don't they, Curb? There's some questions there about who is going to be.
I don't know, dude. Aiden O'Connell's looking prime.
It's going to be Gardner Minshew. It's going to be Gardner Minshew, guys.
You can rock with some Gardner Minshew. But anyways, two players that could help offset that a little bit, two former dogs. Zamir White looking to be the starting running back as Josh Jacobs is now with the Green Bay Packers. That opens the door for him. Zamir White going to be a viable option and one of the top options in that offense with him as a running back. And then Brock Bowers, of course, tight end, use a first-round pick on him. So that's another name. Paired up with Michael Mayer, that's going to be two guys that I think the offense is going to be very excited about, going to utilize in different ways. So another two dogs that could be, just again, some optimism, some excitement. George Pickens with the Steelers. I think you could say this for every single year of Pickens' career with the Steelers because there hasn't been great quarterback play. Najee Harris, touch and go, isn't exactly what he was during his rookie year that he is now at this point in his career. He provides some excitement for sure in an offense that is searching for it. You have Russell Wilson and Justin Fields this year, so you have some quarterbacks maybe, but George Pickens nonetheless still an exciting player. And then Jalen Carter with the Philadelphia Eagles going into year 2. Fletcher Cox now retired. Again, going into this situation where it opens the door. They also have Jordan Davis, but Jalen Carter going to be a star on that defense, and I think he's just going to absolutely explode in year 2. People loved him as a rookie, but this year 2 season for him I think is going to be very special.
Did you mention, sorry, I've been reading the chat.
Oh, you're good.
Once I start seeing the bickering, I know
it catches your eye.
I catch my eye, and I know we're getting close. Did you mention Tyson Campbell got an extension today?
I did not. It was in the notes, though.
He got a rookie contract extension before his 5-year deal was up. No, he's a second-round draft pick, so he's only got a 4-year deal. But they already gave him his contract extension.
Yes, they gave him another.
In Jacksonville for a while.
They gave him another 4-year deal, and it was actually the largest deal for a defensive back that has never made a Pro Bowl.
Looky there. Tyson Campbell, a strap.
Yeah. A player that kind of, it kind of sucked because during his time at Georgia, his career kind of got hindered by some injuries. He missed some time. Never really felt like you got to tap into his full potential as a college athlete. I think he gets to Jackson when he struggles a little bit during that rookie year. It kind of feel like, maybe shouldn't have used a second-round pick on him. But now, he's one of the stars on that defense. You got two dogs now that are becoming stars on that defense.
If I remember correctly, Tyson Campbell and Pat Surtain were on the same high school.
Yes.
They were,
yes.
Same high school football team.
Stupid.
Tyson Campbell's high school highlight tape is phenomenal. Wasn't he higher rated than Surtain coming out?
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah, Tyson Campbell's a 5-star, I believe.
Mm-hmm. I think you're right with the injuries. I think sometimes I questioned his the pop in the pads. Yeah. Sometimes. But other than that, my God. Dude is a strap. I think the most overall fluid combination of fluidity and explosive traits that Georgia's had at a corner in quite some time. I felt like DeAndre Baker was all twitch and explosion, right? Whereas like Kamari is all fluidity, no twitch and explosion. Yeah. Or lacks the twitch and explosion. I felt Tyson was the best combination of the both.
Yeah, defensive back too is one of those positions in the NFL.
Keely, all explosive, no tight, or way too tight. Yeah. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Tyson's been the best balance. Eric Stokes, all explosion, no fluidity.
And Tyson Campbell's just kind of one of these examples in the NFL where if you can string together even just 2 good seasons at defensive back in the NFL, you're going to get paid because it's such a hard position to find good talent at. And if you can just capitalize on those 2 years and you can have 2 great years, you're going to get paid. And after that, really doesn't matter. You've seen so many times where these defensive backs, like Josh Norman is one of the notorious examples of this, where he really capitalized off of those 2
$100 million
years.
Then fell off the earth.
And then it's like, Josh Norman, get the heck off of our football team. One of those positions, but man, you really just got to make it 2 years.
And I believe Tyson started out with Jacksonville in the nickel.
He did.
And he's worked his way out to an outside corner and making $75 million doing so.
Yep.
That ain't bad.
Heck no.
Who else from the Dogs is supposed to have a good year this year? Devontae Wyatt in year 3 maybe with the Packers.
Yeah. Quay Walker, I would say, is probably the one.
He's really surging.
Quay Walker had takes last year where it's like, hey, 18 months from now, this guy might be the best linebacker in the sport.
Mm-hmm. He looks really good for Green Bay. This was kind of James Cook last year when that really he got to be the starting running back. He had a really good year for Buffalo. He's probably going to have another great year because wide receiver position for the Buffalo Bills, kind of questionable, whereas James Cook can kind of provide another weapon in that area that Georgia fans are very well aware of. I was trying to think of some other names, but I really couldn't.
Swift's in New York now?
Chicago.
I don't love that.
Yeah, I don't love that either.
Jordan Davis, big year, maybe?
Yeah, I think him and Jalen Carter.
Kobe as well, going to start full time now at the
you've got your usual suspects, your Roquans, your Matthew Staffords, like guys that have been in the league for a while and have been at the top of the game.
Stafford got a contract extension. Did you know that?
Did he
I
really?
know that.
It's not like publicly, the numbers aren't out yet, but they've agreed that he doesn't have to hold. He's not holding out, which means he's reached some type of terms with the Rams. So that's good news for him.
Dang.
Bad news for Stet, though. Stet would have gotten some shine this training camp. Maybe we would have had a little Dak Prescott, Tony Romo-ish moment where, Tony breaks his back, but in this case, Stafford holds out and then Stet balls out.
Well, I mean, that'll probably be what Garoppolo does. So
It's true. Where's Garoppolo?
L.A.
Really?
Yeah.
He's a bum. Stetson's the 2. That's a handsome quarterback room.
Yeah. You think?
Well,
Yeah.
a quarterback room that can pull. Let's say that.
I mean, name a quarterback room
Once
that can't pull.
That's true.
An NFL quarterback room that can't pull is a
Once
disaster.
Stetson dipped away from the shaggy curly hair,
Yeah.
it was like, okay, you could be put on the market now.
Stet Quavius looked good.
Stet Quavius did look good. I'm trying to think of quarterback rooms that weren't handsome. Didn't Jay Cutler play with old Long Neck McGee for a couple years in Chicago? The kid from NC State. Mike Glennon.
Oh, Mike Glennon.
Mike Glennon, notorious ugly quarterback.
Yeah.
Didn't they have a Clausen in there too?
That would be tough.
I think he was in Chicago for a little bit with Cutler.
Who's the Chargers backup?
You taking shots at Phillip Rivers?
No.
You don't think Justin Herbert's a pretty decent man?
I don't think Justin
man?
Herbert's that attractive. I don't think he's ugly. I don't think he's butt ugly, but
Okay. He's not Mike Glennon, but he's not Sam Hartman.
far from it.
Okay. This is fair. Ted Bundy jokes in the chat mean it is time to move on.
Amen. Amen.
Where do we want to go next? We want to talk about Mike Norvell? Do we want to talk about this last laugh?
I want to hear this last laugh.
I do too. I want to hear this.
I've been waiting for it.
How on earth is Georgia set up to potentially get the last laugh on Nick Saban?
All right.
Go.
I don't want to get got when I do this segment by thinking that what this segment entails is that Georgia now forever has the bragging rights against Nick Saban, all those types of things. That's not what I'm saying in this. But
Clickbait him now.
anyone familiar with the Georgia-Alabama rivalry knows that as of late, there's a lot of heartache, there's a lot of pain, there's a lot of bitterness from the Georgia side to the Alabama side because Nick Saban just had your number the entire year that the entire time he was at Alabama, the entire time him and Kirby Smart faced off outside of one national title game in 2021. And Georgia fans are going to hold on to that for the rest of their lives, as they should, because it ended a 40-plus year national title drought. But they do have the opportunity this football season, despite Nick Saban no longer being the head coach at Alabama, this football season to get the last laugh in this quote-unquote rivalry, because I don't know if you saw this, but it was announced that Alabama was going to be naming Bryant-Denny Stadium. They're going to be naming it Nick Saban Field at Bryant-Denny Stadium. So then I immediately looked, when is this going to be put into place? It is going to be official on September 7th against USF. So not the very first game of the football season. Western Kentucky is not the opponent that they're going to be doing this against. It's USF. The following week, they play at Wisconsin. The next week, Georgia comes into town. So Georgia has the opportunity to give Nick Saban Field its first loss ever.
That would be a good laugh.
Good last laugh.
Be a good last laugh. Who gave Vince Dooleyfield their first L?
Still waiting.
Hasn't happened.
Still waiting.
There you go. This could happen,
Yeah.
and it wouldn't be the last laugh.
Well, it technically is. It's the last thing in this rivalry that you could really have.
It would be the last laugh, but it would fit.
It's not the loudest laugh.
It would not be the
I'm not
loudest
saying,
laugh.
again, that's why I preface it with saying, like, I'm not saying that this is the last big hoorah and this thing where Georgia fans get to have the bragging rights for the rest of eternity against Nick Saban. But it would feel like the last thing that you would get between like a Kirby Smart, Nick Saban thing where Kirby gets the last, gotcha.
Hee-hee.
Yeah, hee-hee.
Last hee-hee, not last
I mean,
ha-ha.
for the rest of the time, you would be able to say, hey, you know who the first loss at Nick Saban Field was for Alabama? Georgia.
I'm really proud of the rate at which non-Georgia fans are in this chat right now. I'm really proud.
It's one of our highest ever, probably.
For sure.
They were getting mad at me they were blaming me for
Yeah, they're
the
like,
chat
Kirby's
full of
still getting
Bama
fired.
fans now. Good, look what you did. It's like
They blamed it on you.
yeah, like
What'd you do?
He welcomed
I don't
them
know.
in.
I welcome them in.
That's right.
I'm one of the people in the
Open
chat who's
arms.
like, yeah, come in, guys.
If you're wondering why I'm holding football, it's because I dubbed up Aaron Murray yesterday on College Football 25 for the world to see, for the masses. And for those who've been watching this program for a little while, Murray's been ducking me for like 6 months now. Since December?
Since the offseason.
Since December. He ducked me in he ducked me
for the
in
Orange
Miami
Bowl.
for the Orange Bowl.
It's been longer than that. Since the 2023 season.
It's been a minute. I have been on the record for a while saying I will outthrow the Choochiless Boy Wonder. I can rip a football. I don't think he can still. I have challenged him multiple times. The first time we went down to Miami, I brought a camera guy, I brought cameras, I brought microphones, I brought footballs, checked them through security. We get down in there, Miami, and I bump into Murray, and Murray's like, man, he's moving his shoulder back. He's like, man, I just can't. My wife says we're down here and I'm not working right now, so we need to go sightseeing. As if he'd never been to Miami before. So that happened down there in Miami. He dodged me in Miami, despite the fact that we agreed Miami. And then February 25th was a date that I believe we had set. February 25th, he was going to get the smoke. And then February 20th rolls around. Hey, Murray, we getting active? We going to make this happen? Ooh, I need 2 months to train. You need 2 months to train to outthrow a former Division II center. You're already beat, buddy. That happened in February. And then he takes his 2 months. He trains. April 12th comes rolling around. Friday before G-Day, baby. We're going to set it up. We're going to make it happen. The former D2 center versus the Choochiless Boy Wonder, who also has the all-time leading passing record in the SEC. Head-to-head throwing competition. Double book the date, Brooks. I'm sorry. Double book the date, Brooks. I'm sorry. Get out of here. Now, all of a sudden, apparently all it took for Aaron Murray to man up and do what he said he was going to do a long time ago was to get his butt whipped in front of everybody on EA College Football 25. All right, he made me play with Clemson. He got Georgia on the road, dub. See ya. Now, Murray has to face the music. Do we think it actually happens?
Face the music of actually going against you.
Of actually doing this competition.
We got it on live this time. So we at least have that. But
we've had it all on live.
I understand. But if he throws anything like he did in the college football video game, I can understand why he'd be dodging this.
Yeah.
Buddy threw 3 picks.
Buddy did throw 3 picks.
Look like freshman Murray.
You do throw picks in that game a lot if you're not used to it.
Yeah.
That's true.
It's a tough game.
He name dropped a professional baseball player on me in Miami. He was like, I was warming up before I came out here with Beep Beep over at the beach house. I'm like, buddy, I don't care what that former Yankee has to do with you getting your butt whipped by a former Division II center. I don't think it happens. Not a chance.
Such a funny guy.
Won't happen.
Love Murray.
I love Murray too. Murray's so good to us.
He is. Just good people.
He is good people. I don't know what the general consensus on Murray is, but he is a tremendous human.
Yeah, he is.
You know?
I've never seen anyone openly hate Aaron Murray.
No, but
it's kind of hard to.
You're a famous quarterback and you're a famous womanizer as well. Someone is going to dislike you. I'm just going to let you know.
Was he a famous womanizer? I mean,
is Aaron Murray a famous womanizer?
You have a story about this.
Yeah, well, the photo in the bar?
Yeah.
That was crazy. Absolutely crazy.
Brought the Canon camera out.
Like 15 years after Buddy played. 10 years after Buddy played, we're in a bar in Athens, and these college girls come up to him and ask for a photo. And I'm thinking, okay, here comes a selfie, middle of the bar. This is standard. 38-year-old dudes who are married and have multiple children do this to me all the time. So it's not unusual that a 19-year-old girl would want to do this for Aaron Murray, the most famous quarterback of all time at the University of Georgia. However, she pulled out a full mirrorless Nikon camera with flash photography in the middle of the bar, whipped it right out of her purse as if she needed 4K imaging for this photo of her and Murray in a bar. So yeah, that was 12 years after his peak. I could not imagine what he was doing in Athens as a current football player. Yes.
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
That is the famous womanizing I'm talking about. Not now. He's married with kids and, Lord knows he would never leave his wife. She's a partner at a law firm. I think she's doing a little bit better than even he is nowadays. Don't tell him I said that. But anyways, he ain't doing bad. But yes, famous womanizer during his time at Georgia. He even made a joke about it on our network. Yeah. Imagine the damage I would have done with a private jet. Buddy, I don't think you needed help.
You need a private jet.
I don't think you needed any help at all based off the stories that we've heard.
I just didn't think he was notorious for it. Like, it was well known they did, but notorious for it. I don't know.
I mean, in our chat, we have jokes about JT Daniels being one of these, but of the maybe the slightly older demographic,
more mature people,
the more mature females,
mature naturals.
Yeah, but other than that, I don't know of a player that is like that connotes. Oh, he was out here doing the thing. Like Jake Fromm was religious and married basically in college. The face was needed. I'm glad that was off air. But nonetheless. Should we talk about Mike Norvell?
I'd love to talk about Mike Norvell.
Do we love talking about Mike Norvell?
I honestly enjoy
Read this quote, because this quote is very, very backhanded.
Okay, well, open the segment up while I get the article pulled up.
All right, so Mike Norvell, we talked about in the National Hour, is still talking about last year, despite the fact that all he would have to do is say, no comment, we're not talking about last year, moving on to this year. This year's important. I got a whole entire new roster, got a whole new schedule, got new opponents and new things that are coming at us. Also, we have a new quarterback, and we got a lot of holes to fill from last year. We got a lot to worry about that isn't getting snubbed from last year's college football playoff. He could say that. He has tried to say that, but he ain't. So what do we got here?
All right, so I'm first going to read you Greg Sankey's comment that he made at SEC Media Days, because I think these two follow it up. Greg Sankey said this. He said, Georgia was one of the best 4 teams and didn't get in the playoff, but you didn't see us jumping up and down and complaining and hanging national championship banners. 2 shots at 2 different programs right there, one of them being UCF, one of them being Florida State. Mike Norvell then says this. This is the week of ACC Media Days, so he had this comment to make. I don't disagree that Georgia is one of the top 4 teams if you're judging off talent and ability, but they also earned their loss, Norvell said. That was part of the result of what happened on the field. When you look at our team and what it was, we controlled the things we could control. We unfortunately had an injury, but we had a team that responded to it. Everybody can have an opinion of what happened. I don't disagree they were one of the 4 best teams, but what happened on the field kept them out of the playoff.
We'll get to that in a second. I'm mentally laughing at Greg Sankey taking a stray at UCF and just envisioning that 50 Cent meme where he's like, fuck he say me for? What's he killing me for? I'm just a little UCF. What the hell? No, this Norvell thing was like, again, why even say this? Mm-hmm. It's over with. It's done. Move on.
Yeah. The only saving grace, I think, is that he is right. Like, I don't think there's anyone out there that would argue that Georgia was not one of the 4 best teams in college football last year. And I think we can all agree they had their opportunity at the SEC championship. Whether it was unfair that they had to go 12-0 all the way through, had a perfect season, then lost in the SEC championship or left out. You had your opportunity, you lost it. So I mean, what Mike Norvell said is relatively correct. The fact that you have to keep saying it, though, this far removed from the season, I don't understand why you're doing that.
Here's my problem with the mixed messaging that appears to be coming from Norvell. Because in one hand, he's telling us we got to move on. It's about this year. And the other hand, he's constantly referring to this and this snub. He's constantly answering questions about this. I recall listening to his Orange Bowl opening press conference at the Orange Bowl, where him and Kirby Smart both have opening statements, and they start talking about the Orange Bowl and this great opportunity. And Norvell almost copy and paste from Kirby the importance of this football game. How, yeah, it's not a college football playoff game, but it's still an opportunity to get better. And it's still an opportunity to go out and represent our school. And it's still an opportunity to play in an Orange Bowl. And he said publicly all of the things that coaches are supposed to say about games meaning something, right? And still playing in them. Meanwhile, he's got opt-out after opt-out after opt-out after opt-out after opt-out. Okay, left and right. While also clearly in-house, the messaging is that, damn, we just got voted out of our season and now our season doesn't matter. But publicly, the messaging is it's still an opportunity, and there's no connection there between public messaging, public words, and in-house actions. And when those two are misaligned, even on something like that, even something that very small, I see more misalignment here in what our public messaging is and what our in-house vibe is and what our in-house intentions are. And it's just something I'm paying attention to.
Yeah, and
something I'm going to circle as, if this guy, and I think he has all the traits and he has shown in our year 3 rule, especially carrying into year 4, that this guy has proven he can turn a program around, and he is one of the top 10 to 12 college football coaches in college football. We can say that and firmly believe that. However, that upper echelon, that top 3, that's kind of like, there are none of these with those top 3 guys. There are no, hey man, there's some mixed messaging here. This doesn't match here.
Well, to be fair about the mixed messaging, I think a lot of that does fall on the individual culture of your players. Like Kirby Smart even said after the game, we know he was on the podium talking about how this is a very important game. He revealed before the game, he said to Kamari Lassiter, like, hey, you probably don't need to play in this game. Yeah. Like, he said that. But Kamari Lassiter, the culture in that, and the team revolving around the players said, no, I'm playing. So, I mean, I don't know if you can fault Mike Norvell for the player culture when you do have a mercenary roster where you're pulling from all these transfer portal players, whereas Georgia, it's a more organic process. I don't know if that falls on Mike Norvell for saying that, but I do think both coaches are going to come out and say, hey, this is still an opportunity for us. We still care. The players prove that they did, and the other players prove that they did. I don't know if that falls on Kirby Smart and Mike Norvell.
We're going to find a whole lot out about Mike Norvell this year, I believe.
For sure.
You feel like you were giggling over something.
I was just...
The Dabo comment?
Yeah, the Norvell is just Dabo with a portal.
Dabo's got 2 rings, though.
Yeah.
So let's not do that. Florida State, let it go. For the love of God, let it go. Georgia DB room, going to be tested this year.
Yeah, I mean, just look at the schedule. This is just solely based off who your opponents are. I mean, you have Missouri, who's going to have... No, Missouri's not on the schedule this year, are they? No, they're not. But anyways, this still works. You got Quinn Ewers, and then you also have their wide receiver room. They brought in Isaiah Bond. That's going to be a test for your DB room. Alabama, still don't really know who their wide receiver core is, like who their main targets are going to be, but still, it's Alabama. They're going to have great athletes on the boundaries.
And a much more explosive passing attack by design, you would imagine.
Jalen Milroe going to be even more polished than he was the time he played you last year in December, so that passing attack is going to get you ready. Ole Miss, they brought in even more wide receivers than what they had last year. Jackson Dart going to be one of the better quarterbacks in the conference this year as well. So I just think that throughout the season, you're going to get opportunities for this defensive back room to be very experienced, very seasoned, and really get tested. You're going to find out throughout the year and really early on in the year if this DB room with Starks and all these DBs that you wanted to hold on to are going to be built up for the task of stopping some of these high-powered passing attacks.
I know this roster, in my opinion, is as good as anybody. I was flabbergasted yesterday to be reminded that Daniel Harris is just a true sophomore. That's crazy.
Yeah,
last year
I always want to pair him and Julian in the same group.
I do as well. I always want to pair them in the same class, but I don't know why my mind immediately went to that. You talk about the defensive back room. I think he's got, outside of Ellis Robinson, Daniel Harris might have the highest ceiling of all those corners. Despite the fact that I was given intel that Dalen Everett might, if he goes to the combine this year, might run like 4.35 fast.
Oh, good God!
Yeah, which
that'll play.
That intel, by the way, came ironically around the time that they do in-house testing. Just gonna let you know.
Good to know.
He fast. He good too. Much better than most people give him credit for.
Yeah.
I can't wait to see if he has that classic year 2. I'm the guy now growth that we've seen from everyone.
We saw it
from Keeley. We saw it from Kamari. Hell, I think we even saw it from Stokes. Like we've seen it of last year, you were the first year starter. People hunted you because they couldn't go after the other guy. Now you are the other guy. And because you've earned that, I would be curious to see if that happens this year for Dalen.
Yeah, and I think he really got an unfair rep last year because Kamari last year was one of the only guys that I think you can really say in the last 5 years that you could not throw on him. You could get a couple of balls past Keely Ringer, especially in the flat zone type games, but Kamari last year was a strap everywhere you went, so it really made teams focus on Dalen Everett. So, and of course the fans reacted, oh, he's not as good, but
Tennessee was the other team I was searching. Not Missouri, Tennessee. You played Tennessee later in the year, which also means Nico Iamaleava is going to also have Nico is going to be
No. Iamaleava. Break it down like that.
On SEC they were pronouncing it as Iamaleava.
Well, I ain't doing that.
I ain't doing that either. Nico, Tennessee quarterback.
That boy Nico.
Going to have quite a bit of experience under his belt by the time he comes down to Athens. Now, he does have to come to Athens, but we know Tennessee's deal, and we know that Nico is expected to be better than what Joe Milton was last year. They're going to be able to throw it around the football yard a little bit. So
that's so classic me to sit here and try to nail you down on a pronunciation and me be wrong.
Zaire McLeod.
Chill out, bro.
Javon Ballard.
Yeah, that was good. What's a bigger trap game in this schedule, Kentucky or Mississippi State before Texas?
Bro, Mississippi State's gonna get rolled.
Oh, dude,
rolled.
But what's a bigger trap game?
I don't think
the other one that you mentioned, not Mississippi
Kentucky?
State. Yeah.
But see, I don't feel that way because I can't remember a time where Georgia was not ready for their first conference opponent.
That's true.
That's a good point.
That's a good point.
Man makes good point.
He's got a point there.
The only time where they were smacked in the face and they really had to battle back, 2020 Arkansas.
Well, this year's South Carolina game.
Oh, fair. Fair.
But that was Spencer Rattler playing out of his mind.
Gosh, yeah, he did.
Yeah, and that was also your
What, he's 17 for 18 for $160 in the first half in that football game? Nuts. Feet for free.
Yeah, got smacked in the face. That's fair to say.
Could you imagine going 5 for 7 with an NFL quarterback? That'd be crazy. That'd be crazy.
Had 2 years with him.
Could you imagine picking that guy and saying you'd play for him?
Sark, do not let me down this year, baby. do not let me down.
There actually
this
is a
year,
small
Sark.
part of me that hopes Sark goes like 8-4 this year, and just not because of anything. I have a hate against Texas, just because it'd be funny to watch the guy
The
you
Brooks
pick.
curse?
Yeah.
It'd be like the Madden curse, but just me saying that I like a coach, and then it's just like downhill from there. He's going to start inviting Brandon Marcello to the crib for a 12-hour interview.
That's not good.
That was not good. We had a player of the day.
We do.
All right, we got some time here. Should I be excited about this player of the day?
Ooh, I don't like that.
Yes. I think he
position
cornerback.
Oh,
Film tape is very good. Footwork very good.
Watchable.
He's extremely fluid. He plucks the ball out of the air.
2025.
2025. I
Is
think
he committed?
he's not. He has offers from Miami, Florida State, Georgia, Florida, and Louisville.
He's a Florida corner.
Yes, he's from Miami.
You know how I did that?
Just offers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those are all not centrally located, but all those schools recruit the piss out of South Florida.
His name is Ben Hanks Jr. He's a 4-star.
I know about Ben Hanks, and so does Patreon.com. He's under 6 foot. He's blazing fast, and he plays defensive back. He came up to Georgia. This is so awesome that you did this. He came up to Georgia this summer and camped, and I was told he was the best camper on the field. He was the best football player on the field. The only thing, definitely got some South Florida attitude. Is there South Florida attitude in this film? Yeah. Is there?
There's
Hell
one.
Yeah. Let's go.
There's one.
Let's go.
There's one pick he has where he blows a kiss to the cornerback.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. I might sign Ben Hanks just for the hell of it. All right, Ben Hanks, here we go. I've heard Ben Hanks is dumb fast, so I can't wait to see this. All right, there's a pick. He's gliding
Just
right now.
jogging.
He looks like running. That looks like Travis
I was
Hunter.
gonna say it looks like Travis Hunter.
That looks like Travis Hunter running the football with the long, lanky strides, smooth, pulling away from everybody. Even the drip he's got going on right now with the sleeves, the add-on white sleeves right there. And I think he might even be wearing 12 right now. This is a pick. He is wearing 12. He looks just like Travis Hunter. Except he's not knee knocked like Travis, and he's about 165 pounds.
Yeah.
Travis, to this day, will always be the craziest.
This is the one where he blows a kiss.
It's an enigma to me. Oh, it's a pick 6, and he blows a kiss to this kid. Oh, my Lord. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. I like me some Ben Hanks. This is a kid that if he goes to Miami, he's going to be a first-round draft pick and the only good player on their defense for like 3 years. You watch.
Yeah. I think that's where it says he's leaning right now.
And that's okay. Oh, he set on that double move like crazy. How did he know? Look at this. Now he's not close. This is a really, really bad throw by the quarterback. But this dude's selling hits right now, and he's still got the gate open right here, not even sniffing, not even trying to bite down on that. He must have gotten some type of indication. What is the down and distance? Might be 3rd and 10 right there. Maybe that's why. That's a really smart football play from him right there. Little press coverage right there. You gonna slam him? Nah, you're not strong enough. I thought he was gonna go. Oh, we got some attitude after that play though, didn't we? We got some shit talking. This is what I'm talking about. Even on the film, the in-person eval pops up.
Yep.
I mean, they said he was the biggest shit talker on the field during that 7-on-7. And the body language was also like, if he didn't get the ball, it was like, F this. Doing the thing, which again, I think that's okay. I'm okay with that as long as we can handle it in-house. What?
Whoa.
Damn, HDMI cord ain't hit us in a minute, and it just did. Look
I
at
thought
that.
the camera went bad for a second.
No. That's HDMI cord all day.
My heart sank for a second.
That's HDMI cord all day. We were good. What do you think? We had a power outage or something?
I just thought camera 2 died.
Yeah.
He's got really, really good football instincts.
Yes.
If you watch this tape, you can see he moves before things happen. Like this play right after this.
Where he cuts on this.
Yeah, he jumps a screen right here. He jumps a double move. Guy works outside and he works back inside and makes a play on the football.
Watch him jump this jail screen.
Yeah, this one right here is really, really elite. He's in a pedal and immediately jumps down. I like Ben Hanks.
Hell yeah.
Is this a return? Or did he block it? No, it's a return. He about to pick this up and take it back?
Yep.
Of course.
Yeah, dude, that's Travis Hunter equate version right there. I like that. Miami's going to get a good football player if it ends up being Miami. I don't think it's going to end up being Georgia. Georgia was really interested there for a brief moment, per my sourcing. So, interesting right there. It's a good little pull right there.
Appreciate it.
You're on a little bit of a heater.
I'm on a heater right now, bro. Gotta go 3 for 3.
Don't call it a streak.
Can't.
Or is it don't call it a comeback? Still don't call it a comeback. But well, don't call it a streak. I'm good.
I'm good.
Good.
I'm good. Appreciate you guys being here. Make sure you hit that thumbs up button on your way out. We love you. Bye.